Wajir County.
In your inspection and acceptance certificate, you've got two.
Yes, Chair.
One value of supply is 87, the other one is 85. Is that the requisition from KEMSA?
Chair, the 85 million is for Eldas, Wajir West and Wajir North.
That's the requisition coming from KEMSA?
Yes.
Which we don't have a problem with, because I think, as the governor has explained, yes, it's fairly foolproof. Now, the evidence of distribution.
It's there, Chair.
Where is it?
Faceoff County.
Where is it?
Faceoff County. For example, Allah sub-county.
Yeah, just take us there.
Red, they look at this reddish, Allah sub-county.
Where would it be on your, because you've got a lot of pages. How do we get there?
Immediately, you move from stock control cards, that's the bin cards. Then the next, you go to, we have now divide them into sub-counties. Allahs, we started with Allahs.
Okay, so explain to us.
Chair, in Allah sub-county, we have annexed ledgers and counter-received vouchers S13.
Officer, you can explain that?
You can explain the first document, which is something dispensary.
What do you say?
The first document. The first one.
What added dispensary is in Allah sub-county. Yes.
So, yeah, the first column there is the date, yeah? Okay. So if you link that with the inspection, so the inspection happened on 3rd of June. So you are saying
for what it happened 5th, the S13, it is 5th.
So what is that there? 100 shillings?
Yeah.
In that column, there is 100 shillings there.
This is per drug, the price cost for per drug.
So what was being delivered?
There's unit cost,
yeah,
there's quantity, and there's value.
And the drug, what's the drug? What is the drug? I just want to understand that form.
Officer?
Just see at the top of the form, it's indicated there. Adrenaline, it's at the top of the form.
Adrenaline.
Yeah.
Adrenaline 1 mg stroke ml.
Yes.
So the quantity is what? Have you understood?
The quantities, they are 10, they are written 10 in number.
10
in number. The drug is adrenaline 1 mg ml.
Okay, officer, going down to total receipts, less total issues, that stock control part, it's all blank. Should it be blank? The bottom of that particular the one Senator Morgan is referring to. I mean, just tell us what is the authenticity of what you have given us? And authenticity would mean signed by somebody, owned by somebody.
Yes.
Because this can be filled under a tree.
No, Chair.
No, just show me how you authenticate this for us to take it as evidence.
First and foremost, it has a serial number. Look at the serial number, Cherargei dispensary.
I don't think serial number authenticates. Authentication means the person making the entry takes responsibility by signing.
Yes.
Where is a signature so that we know who's the person responsible here?
It's called Arafat.
Where is that?
Arafat.
Where is that indicated?
Look at the receiving officer, they say the signature.
Where?
Put the S13, look at the S13.
No.
Don't take us to S13 because you have separated them, isn't it?
Yes.
That's why you've got your S13 is a counter receipt voucher.
Yes.
Yeah, so before we go to the counter receipt voucher, we are on the ledgers.
Ledgers.
How do you authenticate the ledgers? Because none of it is signed. What we have are just entries, handwritten entries.
Chair, ledgers are not signed.
Sorry?
Ledgers are not signed.
So how do you authenticate? How do you authenticate them?
Authenticate this because every facility has one attached ledger book with a serial number.
So, if I may ask, was this the same person filling all this?
No, it's not the same person. It's not the same person.
Was I thought it's one person because the handwriting looks like it's just one person.
Okay,
So
then maybe you need to relate it to the S13. Maybe it will help us understand. What we are trying to dispel is any notion that maybe some team would sit under a tree and fill forms. So your responsibility is to confirm that that is not what happened.
Chair, I'm under oath and I can confirm.
You're not under oath, it's a governor under oath.
Sorry.
Your confirmation is by the documents here. Just take us to the document that gives us that assurance. As I said, we are not going to look at the 167 facilities.
Yes.
We'll just pick one and run a test on it.
For this, for Cherargei chair, if you look at the receiving officer, just a name with the person who received, signature, designation, and date.
That is on the S13.
S13, yes.
So all the S13s you have tendered there for elders, what do they total to? How much of the 172 million was received by elders?
Of Allahs. The total Allahs received is 15,300,000.
Where is that in your records?
In the summary.
Where is the summary?
They did not request it yet, Chair.
You knew you were coming here to provide evidence that 172 million worth of pharmaceuticals was distributed to facilities properly. That's the issue. We are not coming to question whether the procurement from KEMSA was proper. That's not the issue. And I mean, if you are to focus on that, would be pedantic. Our concern is that the 172 million was received in public hospitals and was not diverted to private hospitals. That's what we are trying to establish. And I think the governor must have understood that well, because in his written response, he has said that there are records that provide evidence of receipt, custody, distribution, and issuance of medical supplies to the intended facilities. So just speaking elders, you are saying that in total it was 15 million,
Yes.
and we are asking where is that evidence in the file?
Chair, I was relying with the audit query, which lump sum put 172 million. Then in that 172 million, we had two vouchers, which is in the inspection. One is 89 and the other one is 85. So I was trying to support in line with the query.
We don't have a big problem with the distribution and the arrangement with KEMSA.
Yes.
Our problem is, did the facilities receive the pharmaceuticals? And the pharmaceuticals they received, do they tie to the 172 million that came from KEMSA? It's as simple as that.
Yes.
So give us that evidence, give us that assurance, and we can move on.
Chair, the evidence is in front of you. We have the ledgers, we have the S13, we have the appointment letter for the inspection, we have the requisition, and the inspection certificate signed by the appointed committee members.
Auditor General, because I said when we started that we are not doing the audit today.
Yes.
The audit ended when the OAG brought the report on 31st of December. Can you give us an assurance that the 167 facilities in Wajir received medication pharmaceuticals and the pharmaceuticals, they received the total ties to the 172 that came from KEMSA. Are you able to give that assurance, or do we ask the county to provide that information?
Chair, as the auditors, we can only give what is called reasonable assurance, but not absolute assurance. So maybe I'll pass the ball to the governor. Thank you, Chair.
Governor?
And Chair, I've explained the process of consolidating requisitioning. And once the requisitions are consolidated, an LSO is given for what is required of KEMSA in totality, but with a breakdown of how much will go directly to every facility. So the packaging takes that into account. And that's why it's a last mile delivery. Once that reaches there, the KEMSA person also, because has to demand for payment, has to ensure that the facility in charge signs a delivery note. It is not expected, it's not rationally expected, and I must say this, that the bin cards or the store ledgers for every facility, because these are not things you carry away, they are per product and they are kept at the facility, will be kept at the headquarters. They are at the facility. So it's up to the auditor to say, I need proof of this delivery for this product, for this facility. Then we provide the delivery note from the facility so requested, because you're talking about 167 facilities that have received products directly. And if they want to know at what stage of consumption there is, then we give copies of the bin cards. So when we saw that comment, what my people did is now they asked the store people, the facility in charges in every facility, to send the bin cards of every single facility. So I think unless the auditor says, I need this particular thing in this particular form, this is our response. I don't know how else to explain.
It is not what the auditor wants, it is what the Senate wants. What the Senate requires is clear evidence that 172 million worth of pharmaceuticals and non-pharmaceuticals that were procured from KEMSA reached the intended facilities. That's all. That's our concern. Sitting here, we have seen cases where in a very foolproof exercise, counties procure, counties get medication, but that medication goes to private hospitals. That is the suspicion that we must allay. And so what you must do, as your officer says, that there is no summation of deliveries to the respective facilities, you must provide a summation that accounts for that 172 that will then be supported by the ledgers and the S13s that have been attached here. Sitting as a Senate, that's the most we can do. We cannot go through every single S13 or every single ledger. So provide a summation of the deliveries out of the 172, the facilities were taken to, and how much each facility received. And then we'll ask the Auditor General to just run a test to confirm, and we can close this matter. Governor, I hope that is clear. It would be useful.
Yes, Chair.
Yeah.
I think what I'll ask my people to do, because delivery notes was not one of the things that was asked for by the auditor, why not just get every single signed off delivery note that added up to those two LSOs and provide it to the auditors?
Yeah, provide to the Senate through the auditor. Please
Senate through the auditor.
remember, it is the Senate asking, it is not the auditor.
Obliged.
So I think that should be a very straightforward exercise where you have a schedule, if it's 167 facilities or 50 facilities, indicating the quantities and amounts received, and then they can be supported by the ledgers and the S13s. Is that clear? And that's doable. Auditor General?
That's okay, Chairman. We'll comply with the directive. Thank you.
Let me ask Senator Cherargei to go on record.
Cherargei Kiprotich is my name, Senator of the Republic of Kenya, representing the great people of Nandi. And Chair, my apologies, I was in parliamentary board meeting. Mine is just, we have waited for this meeting for very long. having the governor refuse to appear on several occasions. Mine is, Governor, you are contradicting yourself. If you read your own response, page number 3, steps taken. I thought these are already steps that you have taken. Because you have said the management has directed the relevant department to strengthen issue of record keeping, document inventory, management controls. So I thought the one you are saying has already been done. So which is the position? Are you running away from your written submissions that you are going to undertake in future, or it has been done? That is page number 3 of your management responses, where you have put A, then the management has told officers, because I'm seeing the chair, you are directing that the OG retake. I thought they have already taken, because it is written steps taken. So I thought they have already done. They are giving feedback on the matter.
Okay, I think I gave you an opportunity to go on record, but you could benefit also from some of the conversations you have had prior to your arrival. I think we have gone through all those issues of documentation, the gaps, the complexities, but what we are concerned about now is accounting for 172 million and making sure that that 172 million went to public hospitals rather than private hospitals, or it was actual delivery rather than phantom deliveries. So I think let's leave it at that, Honorable Senator. When we are reviewing the responses, we'll also be able to consider whether the steps taken will close the gaps in future. Senator Lelegwe?
Chair, I wanted to ask whether the county government included all the S13 forms for every facility, because when I sample Aldas Sub-County Hospital, there are about 4 S13 forms, and when you do the total of the amount of medicine they received, it's actually less than 1 million shillings. So I don't know if this is a sample of S13 for Eldas Sub-County, or it is all S13 forms for Eldas Sub-County Hospital.
Does Annex 1 have everything, or it's a sample?
It's a sample. Yeah,
Governor?
it's a sample. And Chair, taking the questions one by one.
I think respond to Senator Lelegwe's. I've addressed the introductory remarks by Senator Cherargei, so don't go there. The question is just direct. Is Annex 1 a sample, or it's the entire universe?
It's a sample. They need what has run out of stock. So, and depending on the utilization in the intervening period, some facilities will ask for more than others. That's why we have one consolidated requisition to KEMSA. But we ensure KEMSA in its packaging just gives every facility what they requested and takes them directly to the facility.
Okay, honorable members, we have given those directions on that matter.
Governor, I don't know whether you are the ones who designed this document, receipt and issues. Are you the ones who designed? Because you are the ones.
Standard document from government printers here.
Oh, it's a standard document.
Okay, I think going forward, because these processes, as you said, there's an automated process where you've got the KEMSA LMIS. The question would be, at what point would we be able to automate it from end to end, such that even at the facilities, instead of having these pieces of paper that generate audit queries, everything can be in the system. It might not be the question for Wajir. It could be a question that we raise with KEMSA so that it can apply to all the 47 counties. But I want us to move on to the next matter, because we've already given directions on that.
I've seen the ledgers that are here, but it was filled by one person, but they are not giving us the totals. If these ledgers, what was the essence, without specification, because it has just been written and they have attached with forger. So does it mean the governor will give further documentation, or these are the ones that we'll rely on?
I think I had the same problem, and I pressed the governor on the authenticity of those ledgers, and they are explaining that the ledgers are not signed, but they must be read alongside the S13s. So, Auditor General, once we have the summation, please do that. I had a similar concern as Senator Cherargei, so it's a valid observation, but it's already been addressed. Let's make some progress. Go to now issue number 2, expenditure relating to Wajir municipality.
Thank you, Chair. During the year under review, the county executive made payments amount to Kenya shillings 199,460,538 for salaries, goods, works, and services related to Wajir municipality. The municipality has separate management and structure, hence should carry its operations separately, execute its operations.
Wajir municipality is an independent county entity established and team responsible for its day-to-day operations. The county executive is progressively facilitating transfer of operational autonomy to the municipality to ensure full compliance with the governing, legal, and institutional requirements. To support the transition towards full administrative and financial independence, the county executive is currently engaging with the State Department for Public Service and Human Capital for the establishment of a separate integrated payroll and personnel database for Wajir municipality. Upon approval and operationalization of the IPPD system, the municipality will be able to independently manage its payroll and personnel functions. In the subsequent financial year, not the one under review, but the one 2025-2026, the county executive transferred the approved budget allocations relating to the use of goods and services and development expenditure to Wajir municipality to facilitate the implementation of its mandate and operational activities. However, it's only the compensation to employees that continues to be processed and paid by the county executive on behalf of the municipality, pending the completion of the payroll transition process, which is pending the separation of the IPPD data. Further, management has initiated engagement with the State Department for Public Service and Human Capital Development to facilitate the establishment of a separate IPPD for the municipality and ensure full autonomy in its payroll administration. The county executive has attached Annex 2, being the correspondence addressed to the State Department for Public Service and Human Capital Development regarding the establishment of a separate IPPD system for Wajir municipality. Management remains committed to finalizing the transition process and ensuring that similar audit queries do not recur in the future financial years. Thank you.
Appendix 2. Annex 2, you refer to Annex 2 as the correspondences. Now, first of all, because these files are crowding us, this 2A was with relation to the first query. No, just I want to clear these tables so we know what should be on the table.
2A and B.
This 2A was with respect to the 172.
No, 172 is Annex 1.
So this Annex 2A relates to this matter of the municipality.
So item number 3.
Item number 3 on unsupported transfers to health facilities. You see, Governor, you would have avoided this expenditure. This is very heavy expenditure on matters that could have been addressed at the county level. So I hope that in the next audit, we'll not be coming with truckloads of documents to the Senate. So which one is Annex 2 out of this? Is it a smaller document?
Let's go to Annex 1, booklet 1, number 2, the last page. Number 2.
The last one, it's just a one-pager.
Just one letter, yes, to the DPSM.
Okay. In my understanding of the governor's response, he generally agrees with the observation of the Auditor General and talks of measures taken. Governor, did I get you right that you are not disputing the observation?
Chair, we are not disputing the observation, and in fact, subsequent to that fiscal year under review 2024-2025, for fiscal year 2025-2026, we have given them autonomy over their expenditure, recurrent expenditure, and their development expenditure, save for payroll, which we continue to pay until the separation of data is done, because the payroll data is centrally controlled at the State Department, until the State Department then creates a separate database which lifts the employees of the municipality from our consolidated payroll to a separate payroll. And then we'll give them their money for payroll as well, and they pay. But as of now, as we speak today, they run their development budget and they run all their operational recurrent expenditure except IPPD, which is consolidated together with the county, and we have initiated correspondence to split. Thank you.
Do they generate their own financial statements, or did they generate financial statements in that year?
They generate their own financial statements, and what we do for them is regarded as a donation in grant, and we appear before CPIC for county, for municipality audits.
So that, you see, the problem is that the 199 has been charged on the executive rather than on the municipality, isn't it? That's the issue here. Ideally, it should have been charged on the municipality.
Yes, but for the municipality, when they show their financial statements, they will show both an income of 199 being a grant for the payroll and an expenditure of the same.
So, Auditor General, you have said in the circumstances the accuracy and regularity of the expenditure incurred on behalf of the municipality could not be confirmed. In terms of regularity, the county has explained the circumstances. What about the accuracy? What assurance do you give us that the 199 million was used prudently?
The 199 million, which relates to, or during that time, which related to payment of salaries, was audited from the county executive side. And the same amount, where we have the breakdown of goods and services, was still audited from the county executive side. So what appears in the municipality financial statement is just a disclosure of collaboration.
So speak English, Auditor. In my mind, you need to give me the assurance that the 199 that was spent on the executive side for municipal goods, services, and salaries, there is no double charge on the other side.
We can give that assurance, Chair.
You have that assurance, or you'll need to check?
We have that assurance, because if we had that issue of double charge, we would have raised it.
Okay, fine. So we shall deal with the issues of regularity and keep in view the steps that the county has highlighted that they are taking, and ensure that this matter, maybe save for the salaries, can be resolved or addressed in the subsequent financial year. Let me allow Senator Mofaya and Senator Sifuna to go on record.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Senator Mwenda Gataya Mofaya Tharaka-Nithi, member of this committee.
Thank you, Chair and Governor. Karibu to Nairobi. My name is Edwin Sifuna, Senator Nairobi. I'm still a member of this committee. Chair, apologies, I've come late. The Governor of Nairobi was before the Finance Committee. I have had a terrible experience there and gained a new appreciation for you and how we conduct ourselves at this committee. Thank you.
You are rightfully here as a member of the Senate and as a member of this committee, so you do not need to re-emphasize your presence. But Karibu.
Chair, he forgot to add that he is proud of you as SG for being the ODM member and chairing the committee very well. Chair, maybe just a follow-up on the, I've seen annex on the one on the letter written by the governor or to request for IPPD, although I know it changed. I've seen at number 7 on employment costs. So, Governor, does it mean under the one you are requesting in municipality, does it mean all through the chair, all employees are in permanent and pensionable under Wajir municipality? Because I can see you are paying basic wages of temporary employees of 68 million, 106,027. So what is the status of the employees? Because how many are they you are requesting? You have not indicated in your attachment. Chair, and whether all of them are on PNP or how many are temporary, because I know mostly municipalities sometimes use temporary employees or employees that are on contract. So can he distinguish, because he has just written a general letter to the State Department for Public Service and Human Capital Development. So can he clear that? Because I've seen in note number 7.
Governor, could you provide that clarity?
Chair, what you responded to was the question as asked by the auditor, so that may require supplementary information to be sought. But why we wrote to IPPD is because the information we need them to separate is what's on IPPD. What's on casual or manual is in-house.
Senator Cherargei?
Do you mean in-house?
It's not with them, it's with us.
Order, Governor.
Governor, I've just asked a very simple question.
Senator Cherargei.
A simple answer.
Senator Cherargei.
Governor is becoming arrogant.
Governor, I am the chair of this meeting.
Yes.
And please, let's process all the responses and all the communication through the chair. So, Senator
Chair,
Cherargei.
just my clarity, and the governor should stop gaslighting some of us. I'm not in the mood today. Chair, I've asked a very simple question through the chair. You have written a letter to request IPPD numbers for permanent. I'm just asked a simple question. In this municipality, how many employees are in PNP and how many are either temporary or casual? Because in note number 7, out of 4.1 billion that you are spending on your employees, 68.1 million is basic wages for temporary employees. That's the clarity I needed through the chair.
Okay, Governor, I think let's go to the issues that are mathematical and accounting.
Chair, let me start with why we wrote the letter to IPPD, because for staff that are permanent and pensionable, they are on the IPPD database, and we're asking for a separation of that database. As to how many are casual and how many are permanent, that's detail which we didn't come with because it's not part of the query. We can supply that. Thank you.
Okay, honorable members, I think we have bigger problems in the report. Let's make progress. We will keep this in view and confirm that those steps highlighted have been implemented in the 24-25 report. The next one again relates to health facilities and supported transfers to health facilities. Auditor General.
Thank you, Chair. The settlement of facility performance reflects transfers to other government entities of Kenya shillings 1,749,535,474 as disclosed in note 9 to the financial statements. The expenditure includes current grants to government agencies and other levels of government, amount of Kenya shillings 301,146,792, out of which an amount of Kenya shillings 12,706,500 was transferred to health facilities, including dispensaries and health centers, which were not clustered as level 4 hospitals. However, expenditure returns, including cash books, ledgers, payment vouchers, and procurement documents from the health facilities in support of the transfers were not ready for audit.
Okay, now, when we did our brief earlier, Auditor General, you indicated that the concern that you had raised there has been addressed. Is that the position?
Yes, that is our position, Chair.
And we asked whether you can provide visibility on the 12 million and give us an assurance that this facility level 1 got 2 million, this one got 3 million. You have that information?
We have that information. We are able to get it from our system. We have that.
So then, Governor, I'm trying to be quite efficient because by 2:30 we are going to the chamber. We take it that this 2A and 2B is evidence to support the 12 million?
Yes, sir.
And then 3 as well? Because...
No, it's only 2A, 2B, and cash flow.
But the governor's response refers to Annex 3. I could make him read it, but the auditor says that the matter has been since supported. So just tell us, are we relying on 2A, 2B, or on 3?
Chair, 2A is written The question number is number 3, unsupported transfer to health facilities.
Yeah, Chair, Annexure 3 is in booklet 2A.
No, Governor, I'm trying to help you. You see, if I tell you to read this, it will take us 5 minutes. I just want us to have on record the relevant annexure that we shall refer to when making our recommendation. So is it Annex 3 or Annex 2? Annex 2A?
No, it's Annex 3, but it's in that booklet, because the booklet says 2A. It's inside that booklet 2A. That's how I understand it. Annex 3 is actually in.
But we are in 2A,
And
we're not looking at where
you
is
see,
Annex 3?
it says there, what's in there is unsupported transfers to health facilities. That's the query it's addressing.
And then down there?
The booklet is 2A. This booklet is labeled 2A, but the annexure that's in there is 3.
Where is that? You know, you are causing unnecessary confusion. It would have been easy to amend your response to refer to Annex 2A and 2B. Isn't it? Because 2A and 2B supports the 12 million.
Because we have 2A, but there's no 3. Annex 3 refers.
Annex 3 refers to voided payments, etc., etc. Let's just get, because I want to get these files off the table.
Yeah, okay.
So,
So
you know,
it's in 2A.
2A and 2B.
2B, yeah.
Yeah, so all these 4 reams of paper you came with to Nairobi was completely unnecessary and very wasteful, because they explain 12 million, which ought to have been done at the county. So, Governor, you must rein in on your people, because I do not think that it is a very good use of the time of the Senate to go through 150 pages to justify an expenditure of 12 million.
Chair,
Senator
I'm
Sifuna.
actually struggling to see you and to catch your eye whenever I want to say something.
Yeah,
Because it appears they decided to bury us in documentation, and
Thinking that we
they are hoping that we will not go through those annexures. We have had similar experiences before, and another thing they have done is that these documents are not paginated. So if I wanted to, for instance, interrogate the county governor on what this document here is, Gabo shop cash sale, I have no way of being able to reference so that we are able to interrogate these documents. Chair, it is always a red flag when you see these documents here. It was also pointed to gaps in the audit process itself, that maybe the entity does not sit down with the Auditor General to be able to supply this documentation during the time of audit, so that the audit is basically being carried out here. Yeah? So it is quite difficult to follow, Chair, but I want at least you take 1 or 2 minutes to look at those documents in those 2 annexures.
Chair, in addition to documentation, I think it is an offense to not to give documents under Public Audit Act when it is needed by the OAG, and I know we'll make recommendations as such. So, Governor, the referral of Annex 3, you might want to apologize to the committee for trying to mislead us, number 1, and number 2, you can request that your response on this be struck out until you are meant to refer to Annex 2A and 2B. Because I'm assuming, Chair, when we are writing our reports, we will not walk around with all this documentation for easy referral. So I don't know whether the governor would want to withdraw that and amend it properly, and also apologize to us for trying to mislead this committee.
I think at this point we must. Sorry, Senator Lelego, before
Chair, I wanted to clarify from the auditor whether, because in his query he has queried that this 12 million was transferred to facilities that are not clustered as level 4 hospitals. So I want him to confirm whether the documents or the attachments that have been given in Annex 2A or in Booklet 2A confirms that these facilities like Wagad Dispensary are level 4 hospital and other hospitals included in that annexure.
Chair, maybe
Can you confirm whether these are level 4 hospitals? Because in your query, you said we are not clustered as level 4 hospitals.
Chair, so that while the OAG is responding, I thought it would be neater on this aspect of referral of Annex 3 be rectified. You can rule so that when we are referring to the management response that is in tandem with the annexures. I thought it would be neater that way.
Yeah, I think that was the first thing we did, and Governor had asked you whether you are amending your written response to refer to Annex 2A and 2B. Just go on record on that. That's just a straightforward procedural matter.
Chair, we labeled our annexures in line with the query itself. So if, for instance, unsupported transfers to health facilities, we label that as Annexure 3. Problem is that Annexure 3 booklet, the booklet was called, because we are now labeling the booklets, the booklet was labeled as 2A and 2B, containing the annexures for unsupported transfer to health. If it's going to help, we can rename them 3, I think, but that's
Governor, that's unnecessary. I think we are not putting you to task on anything, and let's not be too defensive. If we want to waste time, we can read through every matter. We can go through all these documents. What I'm saying is we are going to retreat. The Auditor General has given us an assurance that the 12 million, he can see how they were distributed. So let's not waste time, honorable members. We have bigger matters in this report. When we are referring to this matter, we look at Annex 2B and 2A, and it is clear that for, just 2 or 3 issues, all these mountains of documents have been provided. This is not prudent use of public resources. So I think the point has been made. We can go to another issue. There, as I said, there are bigger issues than this 12 million. Senator Sifuna.
But finally, on that, Chair, many of the documents in this Annexure 2A are receipts for purchases for the hospitals. Just skimming through some of them, and because you have not paginated, it's difficult for me to refer you to the specific ones. But you will see that in many of those receipts, the quantities of the things being purchased are not present. And as a CPA yourself, you know that that is a bit problematic. I'll give you just 3 examples. So for instance, there is a receipt you have attached here from, I think it's Takawa shop or something like that. It just says 1 cylinder full for gas refilling, 3,000. So would anyone know what size of gas that is? I have seen another one here says 8 pieces of electric bulbs. 8 pieces of electric bulbs. One bulb you're buying at 500 shillings. I don't know what type of bulb that is. Then the last one, Chair, is 1 trip of water tracking to the facility by water bowser. And I have no way of knowing if this is 6,000 liters, 12,000 liters. The receipt doesn't say, but there's an amount there of 15,000. So, Auditor General, when you go through some of these documents, don't just come tell the Senate that the issue has been resolved. You must interrogate whether the documentation that has been presented makes sense. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, that is a risk of coming with mountains of documents to the Senate, because you have brought them to the Senate. And so we have a right to scrutinize and go page by page. In fact, if it was not for efficiency of time, we could sit here up to 10 p.m. going through these documents. But I think, members, the point raised by Senator Sifuna, Senator Cherargei, and Senator Lelegwe, I think for Senator Lelegwe, we require a response from the auditor.
Chair, the transfers were made to dispensaries only and not level 4 hospitals. The number of dispensaries are 69 in number.
69 in number, and you told us you have a schedule indicating the amounts that went to every specific hospital.
Yes, Chair, we have shared that to our liaison officer.
Chairman, I've already shared in the group for the 12 million.
Okay, honorable members, I want us to proceed to undisclosed account payables. Here we are dealing with a huge figure of 1.3 billion. I think that would be a better use of the time of the Senate rather than going through 300 pages of receipts. Auditor General.
Thank you, Chair. Undisclosed accounts payables. The statement of financial position reflects trade and other payables balance of Kenya shillings 3,586,603,121 as disclosed in Note 17 to the financial statements. Included in the balance is an amount of Kenya shillings 1,314,671,336 being additional payables which were not disclosed in the prior year's audited financial statements. Examination of payment records relating to various projects revealed that an amount of Kenya shillings 202,671,592 was paid during the year in respect of projects that were initiated and procured in the previous financial years. However, the pending bills were not disclosed in the prior year's audit financial statements. This was contrary to paragraph 2.2.4 of the National Treasury Circular number that dated 25th June 2019, which requires the disclosures of pending bills to enhance transparency in the management. The circular requires that pending bills movement should be disclosed to provide transparency in the handling of outstanding bills and to facilitate informed decision making, particularly concerning long outstanding pending bills. Thank you, Chairman.
Governor, you may take us through your response.
Mr. Chairman, the payments in question relate to legitimate obligations arising from projects and commitments undertaken in previous financial years under the former county administration. The omission of these obligations from the disclosed list of pending bills was not deliberate but resulted from reconciliation challenges, incomplete supporting documentations, and limitations associated with cash basis reporting framework that was in use at the time of the preparation of the financial statements. Upon subsequent verification, reconciliation, and confirmation of the outstanding obligation, management processed the payments to settle valid liabilities and avoid further delays, accumulation of penalties, interruption of service delivery, and potential litigation risks against the county government. The payments were therefore made in respect of general obligations incurred by the county and were aimed at safeguarding public resources and ensuring compliance with contractual commitments. The county treasury has commenced the implementation of the accrual-based accounting and reporting in accordance with applicable public sector accounting standards. As part of this transition, all pending liabilities and acquired assets are required to be disclosed and recognized appropriately in the financial statements beginning financial year 2024-25. During the transition process, the county treasury undertook a comprehensive reconciliation of pending bills and identified liabilities that had not been disclosed in previous financial statements prepared under the cash basis accounting framework. Management has strengthened their review, reconciliation, and reporting processes relating to pending bills to ensure that all outstanding obligations are accurately captured, verified, and disclosed in future financial statements. The county treasury has also enhanced coordination with spending departments to ensure timely submission of supporting documentation and periodic reconciliation of liabilities throughout the financial year. Management remains committed to improving financial reporting processes and internal controls to ensure accurate, complete, and transparent disclosure of pending bills and to prevent recurrence of similar audit queries in future financial years. Thank you.
Okay, we had the benefit of discussing this with the Auditor General earlier, and we have a big problem with this particular matter. Because the Auditor General says that 1.3 billion in the form of pending bills was manufactured in that year, for lack of a better word. They were not disclosed in the prior year. They emerged in the year under review. What is the assurance that these are not manufactured pending bills to the tune of 1.3 billion? Because the issue is disclosure. And from a financial reporting perspective, disclosure and settlement are two different things. You must recognize your liabilities. You must recognize your contingent liabilities. Even if there were 20 billion, you must recognize, you must disclose them. But if you don't disclose and all of a sudden you have 1.3 billion, which is about, is that $10 million? It's actually a round figure when converted to dollars. it might give the impression that someone was looking for $10 million and decided to manufacture pending bills. Now, the Treasury are the ones who came up with that circular. Let's first get the basis of this query before we ask the governor to respond. What is the responsibility of an entity in terms of disclosure of liabilities?
Thank you, Senators. We are talking about contingent liabilities. That is liabilities that might crystallize or they may not crystallize. And therefore, the way to account for them, the prudent way of accounting for the contingent liabilities, first you want to disclose all the liabilities. Then you exhaust the other means that you are using to verify those liabilities. The ones that are verifiable, they are paid. The ones that are not verifiable, they are not paid. That is the position, Honorable Chair.
So can you disclose a lower amount because you think they might not be valid, and then bring them up in the subsequent year?
Chair, you are supposed to disclose all of them, because if you disclose raw amount and in the subsequent years you bring in other figures, then they look strange. So the prudent way is that disclose all of them, and now when they crystallize, now you can pay, and you can even be able to explain where they are coming from. Thank you.
And so that's what gives credence to the suspicion that this could be manufactured bills. Governor, you want to respond, or members, you want to put in some questions? Do we first get the governor's response?
Okay.
Yeah, Governor, you may respond.
Chair, I just want to state a few things. Number one, the allegation of manufacturing of pending bill, fictitious liability is a very serious allegation. And it has never come up either in the exit meeting or in all the discussions we've had with the auditor, number one. Number two, we both recognize, myself and the auditors, the specific challenge that Wajir County has had with respect to brought forward liabilities. Because the opening balances of 1 year, even in the auditor's financial statements, have never really agreed with the closing balance of payables in the previous year. The assumption of, and we've had this conversation before with this committee, the assumption of office report had 5.6 billion shillings of pending liability. The auditor's own investigation report into pending bills had a totally different number, as low as 300 and something. And our own verification through other independent consultants brought something a bit closer to the figure of 1.7. And even that with a lot of caveats, because the system of procurement had completely collapsed in the period between 2018 and 2022. So what we have done, and there are even actually physical structures for which people had LSOs, but which were not in any of those reports. So what we have done as a county government is to pay what is physically verifiable. Absence of a complete listing of accounting payables, either from the auditor or from the assumption of office report or from the outside consultants. So the approach we took was twofold. Number one, track our own payables from commitment to payment so that we don't add to the problem. And two, deal with the historical pending bills by concentrating on what is verifiable, which is classrooms, dispensaries, water wells, the things that were verifiable. So, because this is a very serious allegation, Chair, what I suggest is, because, the allegation that we manufacture pending bills is very, very serious, that the auditor be tasked with, I'm actually requesting this as governor, investigating the 1.3 that is being claimed we paid and are manufactured. Because each of them must have a name, project name, what it is, where it is, I'm here in this manufacturing business now. I know there are reconciliation issues on our accounting payables as a result of that historical problem, which has no easy fix.
Governor, you as an FCPN, you know that closing and opening balances ought to tie. It is your responsibility to explain to the Senate how the 1.3 billion came to be. In your written response, you've done prose. You've just written composition. Unless there is clarity on the process that was followed, obviously the Treasury has already told us your responsibility with respect to recognition of liabilities. That was not done properly. If you do not provide a proper explanation, we shall take home the conclusion that 1.3 billion was manufactured. So, Governor, the auditors cannot go back to do an investigation. I think it is for you to explain to this committee the processes, because a lot of numbers, you've given a lot of numbers, 5.6 billion from assumption of office, 300 million from the auditors, 1.7 billion from your own internal analysis. How did these 1.3 then, how are they exhumed and made payable? Because, or are they additions for the year? Auditor General, we need to be clear. Yeah. Is the 1.3 additions for the year, or those are historical liabilities? Let's make that, let's have that distinction.
Thank you, Chair. The 1.3 relates to an historical liability.
So they are historical. Because if they are additions for the year, then we shouldn't have a problem. So how did you exhume 1.3 billion worth of pending bills and recognize them as payable? I think that's the question that you must answer and not the Auditor General.
Yeah.
Senator Ombua.
Chair, listening to the Governor, I'm left wondering whether then he is disputing this figure. He's saying that he doesn't know about this figure, because even in his responses, he actually doesn't even make an attempt to try and give a breakdown of that figure of 1.3 billion. It's just a statement that he gives. So, Governor, are you disputing that? Are you saying that that figure does not belong to you? It is the work of the Office of the Auditor General?
Can we consolidate the question so that you are, we are a bit efficient? Senator Cherargei?
Yeah, I find the Governor's management response, although you have called it composition, confusing, because in one aspect, he says there was issue of reconciliation challenges, incomplete supporting documentation, limitation associated with cash basis reporting. Then on the second paragraph, he said, upon subsequent verification, reconciliation, and confirmation of outstanding obligations, then they settle valid liabilities. So, Governor, if you are disputing 1.3 billion as being manufactured, or let me not use the word manufacture, it doesn't sit well with you, or being cooked, the 1.3 you are talking about, what was the justification in your second paragraph? That would be question number one. Number two, Governor, through the chair, looking at under 1 year on this 1.3 billion that has been cooked, it's 38%. Looking at over 3 years, it's 1.7 billion, 48%. Looking at aging analysis in note number 17, and it is good you are an FCPA, you have accumulated 52% of the pending bill of 3.5 billion. There is an exponential growth under 1 year of 38%. That is the one we are talking about, 1.3 billion. So in this 1.3 billion, that is, let me look your years that you have been in office, between 2 to 3 years, 1 to 2 years, and 1.5 years. This is 52% of 3.5 billion. This exponential growth makes us believe that this account payables trade and other payables was cooked. Number three, and finally, you have said verification. What was, and you have the people who had LSO and other justifiable that was not captured, and you are an FCPA, you know, non-disclosure of such in your financial statement is grave. So when you say verification, did you gazette a verification committee Is there a report that that committee went through the chair? Is there a committee that sat? And where is that report that can attach to verification in terms of this 1.3 billion? And I want to agree with Senator Wabua that even in response of governor, he has not attached to break down to show that 1.3 billion chair. Unless what the governor is requesting, in conclusion, that will be my final question, is a forensic audit with a view of prosecution. Because if he's demanding an audit, it should be forensic. Because if it is cooked, then that 1.3 billion under 1 year is very serious. So, Chair, that will be my 3 questions.
So I think Senator Cherargei has done a comprehensive analysis of Note 17, which has the aging as well. But we might lose the point on the 1.3, the additional liabilities that were undisclosed. So Governor, maybe just start by restricting yourself to the 1.3. We have no visibility in your response on the process that you undertook to certify the 1.3. I think that is what is missing. That is what you didn't explain. Give us that explanation so that we can expunge the impression of manufacturing from our minds. Just start with the 1.3 billion. Run us through that process.
Chair, the list of... Is this part of the recommendation? Where is it? Yes, in the financial statement. The list of the 1.3 is part of the financial statements, and it's listed item by item. Item by item. This is, and it shows what it is. It is not in Note 17. So, and...
No, Note 17 is a summary. Note 17 is just the aging, your summarized reporting.
In the financial statements.
You see, Governor, just to help you, in the cash basis reporting, you used to attach the list of pending bills. When we went to accrual, we stopped attaching it. So I think your officers should guide you properly. Note 17 is a summary, is a summation, which also has a problem because the aging of staff payables has not been done, and we'll be coming to that. Okay, proceed.
Chair, and we can provide the listing of what makes up the 1.3. I've just been given here. So I don't know whether the auditor has that, of what has the 1.3. And I want to put it on record that none of this is fictitious because they are itemized. It says what it is, and mostly it's actually developmental. It's largely construction and ECD classrooms, toilets, wherever. And these are things that can be verified. So, and I am not...
Would you like to just help us understand the process? Because in prior year, you disowned them, the 1.3. And in this year, you are saying, okay, we shall pay. It's the process that I think we could start with, because the details of the listing really is your purview as a CEO.
Now, the process is, let me spread this, I mean, because there's also the question of the current one that Senator Cherargei raised. With respect to an historical, let me put that into perspective, historical pending bills, because of the situation of the record keeping and that nothing agreed to nothing, we decided that we'll take all those reports, isolate what is verifiable, and only pay what is verified. When we go and see this classroom was indeed done in that period between 18 to 22, but it was not paid, this is what we pay. You know,
Chair, on a matter of procedure, I wish when the governor is reading, we are on the same page. So we are just listening to him. Is there a document so that we can...
Okay. Governor, if there is a document or an annexure we can refer to, you can point us.
I thought I started by saying we have the list, and the auditor also verified that he has the list of the 1.3, and we can provide that.
Do we have it anywhere?
We have it.
It's not in the... It's in the annexure of the financial statement, because the report we are doing is...
No, Governor. Under accrual, you guys didn't attach that list. You used to attach it under cash. So it's not there. What's there, Note 17 is a summation. And I think it's fair, if it's not here, just to say that you shall provide it, so that it's not protracted.
Chair, I've just seen
Chair.
I've just seen in our WhatsApp page, an Excel document has been shared by the auditor containing the list of 1.3.
No, honourable members, let's not refer to all those extraneous things. Governor, the major concern, even before we come to the composition,
I was explaining the process.
Is the process.
I was explaining the process.
Please.
With respect to the historical pending bills, because of the situation of incomplete records that we inherited, and all these attempts by the Auditor General, by the Assumption Office Committee, and by the independent consultant that we hired, we brought together everything that they said, because each of them was also coming with a lot of caveats to say we were unable to whatever. And in some of those years, if you go back, there are actually disclaimers on the audit opinion. So what we then decided to do is to deal, because it was both ways. There were people who were claiming things that weren't done, and there were things that were done which were not in any report. So we decided, and we made this public, that we will pay what is verifiable. And the list of the 1.3 is what we've paid that is verifiable. The auditor has said he has. If Senate doesn't have, we are willing to provide. And I'm even willing further to say if there is any of that that is believed to be manufactured, it will be subjected to further audit process to ensure
sorry, Governor.
For us, we paid what we verified.
Just for clarification,
yeah.
You've made a statement that we must understand properly.
Yeah.
Is a 1.3 billion paid or payable?
Payable.
Because you say paid.
Payable.
Yeah.
Payable.
And again, our problem is not even in the payment. Our problem is lack of recognition in prior year, and then all of a sudden you have a 1.3 billion bill. I don't know whether we have understood the process as explained by the governor.
I've gotten even further confused.
Senator Sifuna?
Because the governor is saying, I don't know when that process began, Governor. When did the process of looking? You basically went out to hunt for bills. Because you're saying you got into office, there are no records, then you make an announcement that we are looking for people who we might owe money. Is that the story? When did that process begin?
And Senator, let me explain what happened.
The process began which year?
It began immediately we came into office, but it took quite some time.
That's 2022.
2022. Right?
Yes.
So what we did is we first took what is available. What was all, we looked at the financials. What was disclosed in the financials?
So just there, there's where you're losing these, Governor.
Yes.
So there was something
yes.
in the financials.
Yes.
How come the auditor is saying there was no such thing? Because in the prior years we should have seen some amounts, but we have a situation where from 2022 up to now, out of nowhere, we are hit with 1.3 billion.
No, I think that we do not agree with contention.
Yeah, that's the case.
We do not agree with.
No, that's what is before us, Governor. We are able to interpret the report of the Auditor General and also your financial statements.
Chair, let me put this in this way and allow me time to explain this process. Number one, the way
how much time we have to explain all this?
Okay. Did you
Well,
also
Chair,
an interjection?
Yes, I want to.
Okay, let's take the question from Senator Wajir, so that you factored it in your explanation.
First of all, and the governor surely must know this better than me, better than all of us. He is an accomplished accountant. If a disclosure has not been made, and if it forms the basis of an audit query, as a responsible government, as an accountant, the thing that we do is to provide detailed explanation in terms of financials, not pros, not saying this is what we are doing, this is what we did. Now, I hear the governor and the office of the Auditor General are talking about a document that is supposed to explain this query, which document we don't have. Yeah. How are we supposed to process that query?
Chair,
Senator Cherargei.
Governor can come clean. I have heard him alluding that when they came to office, they assess these trade payables and it is historical. But when you look at aging analysis, there is an over 3 years, which I believe is historical of 1.7 billion. So it's confusing us further by saying it's referring to historical, yet we have 1.7 already. Yet under this, under 1 year is 1.3 billion. So, Chair, you know, the governor should assist us by being very clear in this between 1.7 and 1.3, because that breakdown, we want to arrive at 1.3 billion so that we remove the assumption that it was manufactured. And Chair, when we look even at the schedule, I don't know what you people bring in Wajir. He was spending in food and drinks of 6.5 million. For me, it looks like they were going to fish and tell him, hotel, how much did we drink? Tulungunywa China mandazi, nini, 6.5. If you look at that schedule, it looks, it had been, they went hunting as what's in the Sifuna for these bills.
So in the, Governor, in the absence of a detailed explanation, the senators are not wrong to speculate. And so, let's give the governor an opportunity to explain. If there is need for documentary evidence to support his explanation, we can give those directions. But we are all interested in finding out how 1.3 billion just dropped from the skies. Was it some pensions that hadn't been paid, or some gratuities that all of a sudden came to your attention? Please help us understand that.
Chair, I think we're mixing issues here. So let me first of all separate two things. Because the Cherargei also talked about bills of less than 1 year. Matters of less than 1 year have to do with cut-off issues. We are in June now, for instance. We have incurred commitments. We have not received money for May and June. Even if we receive it before midnight of 30th of June, chances are that by the time the system is closed, some of that money will not have been utilized. So those are just timing issues from 1 year to the other, with respect to the payables that are within the 1 year.
We don't have a problem with that.
What I'm trying to address
is 1.3.
Is 1.3, which is under the note on the accounts payable, and which the auditor has clarified he has the listings, the detailed listings that add to that 1.3. And we're saying those are the historical, verified, physical structures which we decided to pay on account of the incompleteness of the record that we inherited. And that the records were incomplete.
Okay, let's give him 1 minute to finish.
Can I just finish? I might lose my thoughts.
Follow what you say.
Okay, Governor, just give it a moment.
That schedule that has been shared, does it have a column for us to understand when these invoices were incurred? Is there a column to show us that this is from 2021 or 2022?
It has. Yes, it has.
Because the one that has, I'm using Cherargei's very expensive phone, chair.
Because I'm the government, so you can imagine.
I know the county can disown anything that is coming from Cherargei's gadget. So, on who is it who decided? That this 1.3, and officer who said governor all of a sudden we got this 1.3 billion, let's officer who said governor all of a sudden we got this 1.3 billion, let's pay. Was it a task force pay? Was it a task force? Was it internal audit? Was it Auditor General? And obviously Auditor General cannot be part of that. Yeah. So what was the process? What was the decision-making process to recognize the 1.3 billion as payables?
It was a multi-departmental committee that now had to receive all the reports. And every department again was told, can you then physically go and check what in every locality is a physical item that has not been paid or has been claimed. They went with the report physically.
Chair, you accuse me of being impatient, but anybody will get them impatient with this, honestly. Because if it's a committee, then that was said. I'm saying this issue, even a memo that sets up that committee and say, no, the governor, because this is a very material audit query. You should have come here and told us, on this date, the departments were told to have a multi-agency, whatever, meeting to forward the claims in their departments with any documentation that's available. And after that, this is what the meeting followed, this is what we got. And finally, the minutes of the meetings, finally, it was decided from this department, 5 million. From this department, 20 million. From this department, 30 million. Cumulatively, 1.3 billion. That's what we did. Yeah. Anything short of that is just
okay. So let's maybe we have different ways of contextualizing things. But Governor, Senator Delegwe has a query which might be beneficial so that you can consolidate everything.
Just when I go through the Excel sheet provided to the auditor, there is a more suspicious figure of a repeated 60 entries of an amount of 1,399,000 amounting to 83 million. A similar figure for 60 entries.
And that's a risk of looking at reports that have not been tabled and are off.
That amounts to about 83.9 million.
Governor, can I help you? Can you go back to the process before you go to the content?
Let me. I think here the problem is that I'm not even being allowed to say what I want to say up to the end.
I have given you the floor.
Chair, I have said, with respect to the historical, and by the way, we provided even the report of the consultants to the auditor and to Senate, and we bring the evidence that we actually sent all those reports to Senate when all those reports were done. Every single report that was done, we provided to Senate, we provided to EACC, we provided to the controller of budget, and we'll send to this committee all the forwarding letters and the proof that they were received in the Senate. Because of the situation we were in, and we were under a lot of pressure from the public to pay pending bills, we had to go for what was verifiable. Senator Delegwe, it's not unusual to find one figure if you are doing the same things. For instance, if it's one classroom, chances are the classroom will be awarded for the same amount across. If it's toilet, probably the same amount across. And that's what I'm saying. Because this is a note, and there's a listing attached to it, we interrogate that listing, and we physically verify those, we physically verify what they were done, I have no problem with that. And I think that's what I would have expected the auditors to do. But as to why we're bringing it in, because nothing agreed. The figure that was brought forward in the financials even if it's through a memorandum record recognized payable, did not agree with the investigation report by the Auditor General on pending payables, did not agree with the assumption of reports office, and did not agree with what the consultant did. And it was, Chair, I'll give you an example. In the assumption of office report, there was 600 million, I can't remember the exact figure, relating to things of physical nature which were not physical on the ground, including boreholes, including classrooms, including fencing of hospitals, but which the committee of the consultants working with the one that we established, because they still had work with the report go around, could not actually see. The villages went to where we were told there were classrooms, and you go to that village, and you find the kids are in and the trees. Yet, the assumption of the report said there were classrooms in there. And this is why we decided we'll only pay what was verified. So this is the situation. And I remember, Chair, we had these conversations about Wajir pending bills in the first committee of PAC. So this is what I'm dealing with. As to what is current, Chair, there is no problem. It's just a time issue. Whatever we carry forward, because sometimes it's also multi-year projects, which is not paid by 30th of June. When we get our money and the system opens, we pay. And we track our commitments. I'll give you an example, Chair. One of the things we are struggling with is to pay statutory payables carried forward, which was not done for 25 months. Within that period, we have paid our statutory reductions every single month under the current regime. But when we are left with 9 billion, 7 billion, 6 billion pending bills left, right, and center, even my entire government budget, after I pay salaries, cannot cover that in 5 years. And this is why there's a conversation between Senate and National Treasury on those, for instance, statutory liabilities. Because statutory liabilities is very easy to verify. There can be no fictitious statutory liabilities. People deducted people's money and never remitted for 25 months. I have no way of making that up unless all I'll be doing is to pay what was left by the past regime and I don't provide services. This is the situation.
Governor, I have a separate query on statutory remittances of 732 million. We'll deal with it because it's a big thing that applies to all counties. We cannot leave the 1.3 billion until we are sure of the process. And I thought that you were going to tell us that there are minutes, there are reports which can be provided. Because
they will provide all the minutes, all the constitution of the committees, all the reports of every team that looks into the payables.
The problem is this. When we sat at the first meeting, when you came back to office, the issue of ghost pending bills was big. In fact, many of us here sat through the impeachment proceedings of the former governor of Wajir. And many of the allegations were to do with pending bills and financial impropriety, impress management, etc. We have that background. And what we have expected you to do in your administration is to write down, to verify and get rid of fake bills progressively. So 2022, 2023, you had a huge stock. I don't know whether it was 5 billion or 7 billion, whatever it was. 2023, 2024, your accountants certified a figure as being the accounts payables. Then 2024, 2025, the same accountants and heads of departments tell you, sorry, to Achana area last year we have 1.3 billion more to pay. That is where the problem is. If in 2023, 2024, the roads department said that their pending bills were 500 million, and then it was certified and the CPS put their signatures on this report, how do they come again next year and tell you, no, it wasn't 500, it is now 800? You see, that's the problem. That's the problem. And if it's done through internal mechanisms, it can result in rigging of bills. It can result in manufacturing of bills. So we need to get clarity on that process. All of us here sometimes get petitions from members of the public, our bills are not being paid, but our position is clear. If the bill is verified and the county government has agreed to it, it should be paid. It is fairly unusual to see a growth in historical pending bills. The general trend is a reduction because you are doing verification and you are dismissing those things that you are talking about that were said to be on the ground and yet were not there. So that is why we have spent a little bit of time here because it is an unusual trend where it is going up. And I know that in our first conversation you were concerned that it was too high. So I don't know how it hit, the curve started going up rather than going down.
Chair, I fully agree with you, but it depends on what you started from. If you are starting from the assumption of office report, and what we have verified as payable is 1.3, it still come down. It's just that the financial statements of the auditor did not fully capture all the pending payables, number one. The assumption of office report, on the other hand...
Sorry, you refer to a report of the auditor?
The inherited financial statements had a much lower number than what was being claimed.
That's 21-22.
21-22. Yes. And the process took quite some time. to get a final report.
So 22-23, you disclosed the liabilities went up.
The liabilities went up.
Okay.
But still much lower than what was in the assumption office report. So we, in a sense, picked all those reports and just picked what was of physical nature and decided to constitute those as what is payable. Frankly, that's what it is basically, because what was being demanded was much higher. And it cut both ways. I give you the example of the 600 million of things that are of verifiable nature, which were in the assumption of office report, but which are not on the ground. But also, even within Wajir town, there were offices, for instance, constructed for departments, which the suppliers were coming to knock on my door to say, ofisi yangu inatumika na sijalipwa, but it was not in any report.
Oh, okay.
We had polytechnics that were in use, but were not in any report. So we had to work both ways.
Fine.
And that's why we decided to stick.
You have emphasized it. You have emphasized it. Senator Wajir, you are a professional scribe. How would you summarize this conversation?
I think, Chair, I would just simply say Kizungu mingi. A lot of English. You know why, Chair? Even just what Senator Cherargei has mentioned there, on the 1.3 million, 60 entries of 1.3 million. You know, what I expect the government to do is not give us a theory. Just to say that 1.3 million, the 60 entries is a classroom, or toilets, or whatever it is. I mean, I also went to school in the US, and at some point when things get a little muddled up, we will say it is what it is. That's where we leave it.
Chair, can I propose even as you direct the government to provide further information, we must be specific. I think that is what Senator Wajir said. So that when you say access roads, is it in Wajir North, Wajir South, is it in Wajir Town or Elders? And also, I've seen one interesting medical insurance of 322 million. What is attached? Which are these companies? Was it for the staff? Chair, the issue of gifts, food and drinks of 6.5 million to some grand oases. The entries 6.5 million on food and drinks and gifts.
I think, Chair, that's not the addition of 1.3.
Order, Governor, you might want to ask what is reading before you dismiss.
This is the schedule you just provided. Governor, are you running away from your documents again? Are you running away so that we know how to deal with it?
That is a schedule that was provided to the auditor
that was even
and
auditor.
I confirm that it is the same on this opposition phone. The same as the one.
But your phone looks cheap.
So can we try Mwaruma's phone?
Let's try and see whether the results will be the same. But Chair, there is a question in the government.
That's a techno one.
There's a question in the government on that same schedule. Now you have to run away from the schedule, but Governor, you needed to answer whether on that schedule you provide, I can tell which date that amount was incurred. Is there a column that refers to this time?
Senator, through the Chair, there's a column for the financial year.
Where is that?
It says...
Which column is that?
It doesn't refer, it's just about payment date.
It's his document. You know, if you read yours, you will run away from it. You read his own document.
And there is a date that is a column that says payment date.
Yes, that's the only one that has dates, Governor.
Payment dates. Yes. So those are actual settlements.
Yeah.
Not liabilities.
So how do you know, Governor, that this is a historical thing because you say you started in 2022? If you just went with that first one there, advertising, awareness and publicity campaigns, it says 2024-2025. Is that when it was incurred?
You know, the dot shown here is the payment date because, I mean, this is the date in which it was incurred, not the payment date. But
so, Governor, you seem to me that this is not historical date.
Actually, this is a largely historical.
This is a payments list. That's why I asked the question whether this is a list of invoices paid or payable. But it appears they are paid because there's a payment date, the 1.3.
You know, Chair, at the time of the audit, it was payable, but now it's been paid. You know, because the audit itself happened.
So the 1.3 billion that was exhumed has been paid fully.
Partly paid.
But this schedule totals 1.3.
Yes, partly paid. Because every year we provide an amount for pending bills and then tick off from this list. So we can reconcile to see what has been paid and what's not
Yes, Governor, for clarity,
Just 1 minute, because of that point.
As of today, partly paid.
It is partly paid. Then again, Governor, there is a singular bill for you to tell us these are already paid and these are not paid.
But my question has not been answered.
Right.
You have provided me a document that cannot help me understand that process that you spoke about. I should be able to know that first item there, instead of telling me you paid it or when you paid it, when was it incurred is more important in the conversation we were having. You are a CPA, I'm a lawyer. The word historical should mean the same to both of us. Yeah, so the documents that you should provide is to show us, for instance, you talked about classrooms that have been built that have not been paid for. You should say this classroom at this place was built in 2019 and it has never been paid for. We are paying for it in 2022, 2023. That's where it's coming from.
Senator, I hear you, and I agree. We provided this to the auditors and all this was provided. But, Chair, I am okay to go back to this and give further data on when incurred, whether paid, whether not paid, and
the process.
And the process.
And the process.
Yeah.
Because we will not be unfair if we reach the conclusion that these are manufactured in the absence of clarity on the process.
Chair, to me, this schedule says the wording there, payment date. To me, this 1.3 billion has been paid as per this schedule, unless the governor would want to withdraw this document. Because it says payment date. So the English I know is that, the English of I know a lawyer, or a church elder, or a bishop like my brother here, is payment date has been 1.3 billion. So, Governor, are you withdrawing your own document to get us a better document? Because you have now introduced another angle, it is partly paid. Because we don't want to imagine that this was a payment error, the payment error. Because looking at most of these issues, there is no specificity. Somebody from Wajir, wherever they come from, Wajir North or South, or even Wajir County, if I tell them county has paid money for access roads to this amount, where do they attach? Because I'm happy you said you did a social audit. You sent people on the ground. So when you say access roads, which road from point A to B that was done with how much, how many kilometers, all those, Chair, if they are missing, I might want to associate yourself on the issue of either manufacturing or cooking, whichever you want to go home with.
No, Senator Cherargei, you are doing very well until you go there.
Order,
You are not.
Order.
You are not in charge of order.
Order. We were doing very well until Governor took the microphone.
Correct?
So
My advice, you should switch off his microphone. It is safer not to talk.
Okay. Members, we have done very well so far, so let's not lose it. I think let's round up this matter so that we are clear on what to expect from the governor, and then we can deal with other issues. Senator Legwe.
Chair, I disagree with the governor's response in my query when I asked him about the 1.399 million figure. You said it is a classroom, and when you build a classroom in Wajir, there is a possibility that you will have the same figure. But now, if you see the list of those people that have been paid, or the companies that have been paid, as 60 different companies. So how can 60 different people quote the same figure, 1,399,400, 60 times?
And again, on that, the cost of doing a classroom, the farthest end of Wajir cannot be the same cost of doing a classroom in Wajir.
You see, members, we are querying this schedule and giving the impression or assumption that the process was okay. If the process was not proper, then even the discussion on the contents of that list stands on very shaky ground. So we must first establish that process.
Yeah, to help answer Senator Lelegwe's question, Senator Lelegwe, first of all, you have to appreciate that these were awarded by the previous regime. So if they decided they are going to award every classroom for 1.399, regardless of where it is, but for me, I have decided to pay the classroom because it's verifiable. I just have to live with that. And it was not unusual for them to use one number for all dispensaries, one number for all classrooms. And there are places where we even questioned and said, yeah, this thing is physically verifiable, but the amount being quoted does not really make sense. So the ones that we thought the cost was reasonable in light of the scenario we were facing are the ones that we decided to include in what is payable. So it was usual in that regime to say 10 dispensaries each at 3.8. As you say, the procurement process, if done objectively, should have had certain differences. But here you are. You have the classroom, you are seeing it. And by the way, in certain cases, Senator, for you to understand this, there are cases where the public have the right to close the classroom. There are others where they've gone to court and the court asks us to pay. And this is why I want to improve that list with a lot more details, not to disown it, as Secretary says, but provide more details as to those things. Yeah.
Okay, Senator Sifuna, hopefully you are giving us a way forward.
Before we depart from that note 17, I'm just wondering if there's another audit query there. But Governor, what is that item number 2 there? Or under use of goods? Yeah, what is that? At note 17 of the financials.
That ought to be property, plant and equipment.
No, I think I want him to say, to tell us, Chair.
Yeah,
because we know we have discovered that words mean differently to different people.
Yeah, Governor? Actually, why can it be? What was that thing used during COVID?
That's why I want him to say it.
Yeah, so I withdraw my definition. Let's get the Governor's definition of that PPE.
Governor, you are the CEO, and you had the notes before you. I just want to know what it means. The financials. Or the financials. It's on page 26, officer. There's an item there for 2,179 million. Yes. What is that second item on the column there?
It's page 26.
note number 17.
No, what this is. So I think that PPE, Senator, is property, plant and equipment. So it's 2.179 billion.
How is it wasn't in the previous statement? Previous year's financials? Just use the mic, please.
And Senator, because in the previous year, there was a need to put this in the financials in that sense because we were on cash basis accounting.
Okay. No, that's not the answer, Governor. That figure is part of the 1.3 that the auditor is querying. That was not there in prior year.
That is why the explanation is only half of it. I thought that they could be related, those two.
Auditor General?
Thank you, Chair. The current reporting template for 2024-2025 and allows the first-time adopters of the accrual to take some advantage. But they are
Auditor, go straight to the issue.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying
the 2.17 billion that Senator Sifuna is saying was zero prior year.
So
is it part of the 1.3 that we say was not disclosed?
It is not.
Okay, so where is it coming from?
It is not for the, I think for the
Chair.
And auditor, remember you're not the preparer of this financial statement, so you can just comment on matters of size, rather than the completeness of numbers.
Chair, the 1.3 actually, because that's not on payables is everything, whether historical or recurrent. So the 1.3 is indeed part of that.
Yeah, so auditor, I think let's leave it there because we'll start contradicting ourselves. So it's part of that 1.3 that the auditor said was not disclosed. And Senator Sifuna, you asked whether there were other audit queries on that note. Indeed, there is one. Let's go straight to it. Then we will give general recommendations on trade payables and related statutory and employee benefit deductions.
Chair, maybe with the indulgence, you did give direction on 1.3 billion.
No, since it's all part of note 17,
yes,
we look at the statutory deductions and give a global advice. Auditor General, you could read your finding on pension, statutory and employees benefits deductions, a figure of 732 billion, which is included in note 17. It's under report on lawfulness, and in the original certificate it's issue number 6, unrelated statutory and employee benefit deductions. And if you go back to note 17, you will see the social security benefits and employee payables.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Unrelated statutory and employee benefits deductions. The statement of financial position reflects trade and other payables balance of Kenya shillings 3 billion 506,633,121 and as disclosed in note 17 to the financial statement, including the balance is an amount of Kenya shillings 732,315,329 in respect of unlimited statutory deductions to the National Social Security Fund and employees' contribution to local authorities, pension trusts, and local authorities' provident fund, some dating back to 2014-2015 financial year as detailed below. So the table there. This was quoted section 19.
It's important just to read the components and the amounts, just not too long.
Okay, you have the component and the amount. First, the component is basic salary, civil service. This is, I think, below to circles of 75,778,065. Then you have a block contribution to staff pension scheme of 535,904,297. Then you have employer contributions to National Social Security Fund of 7,650,480. Then you have graduate civil servants, 113,281,097. Thank you, Chair. This was contrary to Section 19, Section 4 of Parliament Act Cap 226, which says that an employer who deducts an amount from an employee's remuneration shall pay the amount so deducted in accordance with the time period and other requirements specified in the law, agreement, court order, or arbitration, as the case may be. Thank you, Chair.
Governor?
Chair, the county government.
Just because we have jumped a few issues, just point us to the page where you are reading the response from.
Page 23.
Page 23.
24.
24 or 23? Okay. Yeah, you're right.
Pages. Mr. Chairman, the county government encountered disagreements with the pension schemes regarding interest and benefits.
Sorry, Governor, that's page 25. Page 25.
Yes, it's 24.
25.
Yes.
Okay, proceed.
The county government encountered disagreements with the pension schemes regarding interest and penalties, where the penalties were multiple times higher than the principal amounts. The county continues to engage with the relevant authorities to resolve this dispute in a fair and compliant manner. Steps taken, the county government has already cleared, as part of the statutory liabilities, cash 109,167,057 due to KRA, and also 7.6 million for NSF contributions will be paid in the next month. Chair, let me explain this a bit.
Yeah, because I want us to deal with this matter comprehensively, beyond your written response.
Yes, Chair, all this first of all relates to the period 18 to 2022.
Even though the auditor says from 2014, 2015, when you are the first governor of Wajir.
If there's any amount related to that, I want it.
But just proceed. Yeah.
This payable is related to 25 months of pensions and gratuities not paid under the period 18 to 22. And it's with LAP Trust and LAP Fund. Now, what both schemes did, and it's part of the settlement we had, they waited to just before the elections to go to court. They allowed the previous regime to get away with it, and just went to court just before. And so by the time we came in, the matter was in court. We agreed on a few things. We agreed, number one, that we will pay our current state deductions on time, and they can confirm, we can confirm here through the auditors to Senate that we are up to date with respect to the current period. As for the previous period, we have been trying to agree on an out-of-court settlement because these are just the principal sums. When you add the penalties and interests, the figures being asked for are actually double, if not more, than this figure. And given also that we have a huge pending bill to the public, it's become a bit hard to create space in our budget to deal with this at one time. Chair, I'm hoping we've advanced quite a lot with CPF, that we'll have an agreement with them in the next 2 weeks, which includes some waiver of some of the penalties, so that then, even as we speak now, I think we have about 70 million shillings that we budgeted for this year to reach this amount before 30th of June. And then next year we'll provide a bit more. But Chair, to contextualize this, all this money was actually released by the control of budget and it was deducted from the employees, but never remitted. I do understand that the government is in perpetuity. But the financial architecture of counties is such that money is released monthly. So when the money released in a given month is not appropriated for what was released for, then it constitutes a crisis on the system. When it's not done for 24 months, for 25 months, then it creates a hole. And this is why we've had discussions with the Treasury, CS level, together with the pension schemes, because it's not a problem only for us. And I keep reminding even governors as COG chair that this should be happening on our watch now. If there's any governor that's doing this on our watch now. To deal with this historical, because it might not be possible to absorb this in one fiscal, to come with an arrangement where Treasury gives some bonds, for instance, to these pension schemes, especially the ones that can, for instance, give assets. Nairobi might be able to give land, for instance, which is valuable. Mombasa might be able to give land. And then that is amortized over time from the equitable share. Because it's impossible for me to pay $1.5 billion or $1.6 billion in statutory payables only within my term. Because I'm already struggling with my payroll costs. We're opening up new hospitals, we're recruiting new people. The increase in equitable share, you understand what it is. So, especially for counties that do not generate a lot of on-source revenue, once a hole like this is created, is a problem. And so, Chair, I am ready for any advice on this, but this is my situation with respect to this.
Yeah, I think the reason why I've given you time is that this is a conversation we have had, I think we have had it in a formal sitting, and we have also had it informally. And we have agreed that there needs to be very special focus on this matter. Because if the controller of budget and Cherargei advisors had already approved that expenditure and the money was released, will you approve it again?
No, it can't be approved.
So where will the money come from? That's a crisis now.
Chair, the challenge I have with that argument is then that argument can also be applied to my other physical pending bills, because all those were released by the controller, but just applied in other ways. So I have a classroom belt, someone given an LSO, kids in the classroom, money already released, but that person not paid, and I didn't inherit money.
Okay.
Let me answer this question. Thank you, Chair. Are you saying that for the existing pending bills, there are projects whose money were released by the control of budget, but that money was voided and paid for other things? Is that what you're saying, number one? Number two, we need to know, maybe exactly, especially for example, employer contribution to staff pensions scheme, 535 million 297. This is principal plus interest. What is the principal? Is it possible to get that information? What is the principal? Number three, Chair, these are employees, whether they are working between 17 and 22, when you're not governor, their money was released. When they retire, when they go for their pensions, they need their pensions. They will not understand that they were not working or their money was released but not released to the pension scheme. So are you saying that there's nothing you can do? And if this money was paid for something different, what steps have you done to make sure that those who did that are brought to book? Because we run governments in perpetuity.
Okay, good one. Those three, please take note.
I think, Chair, for me, the problem is the time that it has taken to have these conversations. Governor, you are in your final year of your term. And we have your colleagues who have come here and sat there. They are very junior members of the COG, let alone chairman. But they concluded agreements with CPF years ago, where they waived the penalties and some of the interest, and they agreed on a payment schedule, whether they're paying monthly or annually. So my disappointment in you, especially as the chair of COG, is that you have people within the COG who have done these agreements. And I believe that conversation is the same. And maybe these are the issues that the COG should take leadership on, not these other things that we see you giving directions to governors. So, for me, Governor Mutula was here, and he had a document they have signed, and it says it should be a template for all the 47 counties. The stories you have told us, unfortunately, are unsupported. And Governor, you have referred us back to that contentious document of yours. My concern is this: you have 113 million in unpaid gratuity for your public service. And this is a problem for us in the Senate because people who left the service, maybe retired, they have no time for these stories, especially if I was to share this schedule with them and see how much this hotel called the Grand Oasis. What is it, the name?
Grand Oasis.
Yes, have you gone back to that schedule? It is a question of priorities. Okay. Yeah, there are people who do not prioritize Mwananchi. If somebody has retired and they are due gratuity, really those are the people who should prioritize and not catering services, accommodation, gifts, food and drinks from that schedule that I was referencing, which is almost 6 million shillings in tea and mandazi. And you have people who have retired there. They have nothing to eat. So, Governor, it's also a question of priorities. I don't know why you have prioritized KRA because they can freeze your accounts. I suspect that's the reason. But this, yes, these ones from, this one's looking for their gratuity. Where can they find you, Governor?
Oh, okay. The governor is confessing that their accounts are frozen and he should prioritize them. Now, these are the guys who have nothing to get in the field. What if they have not left?
Fine, I believe this is a matter that is important not just for Wajir. So we'll do specific cases, but also try to look for a global solution.
Annex 6. Annex 6. Governor, what did you want to prove with this Annex 6? Because I can see there was a principal amount of 47 million, then there was total accrued interest of 14 million. That was on 10 June 2025. I think this is a payment of 458 million, 137,709.7. That is Annex 6. So is it when the OAG queried about 732 million, 615,329 shillings, is this part of it or it is different? Is 458 trying to offset the 732, or what is the place of this Annex 6 that you are trying to tell us you are paid with the issue of love fund? Can we get that distinction, or you are just, and to emphasize secondly, finally, Chair, is that I thought this issue of statutory deductions, be it KRA, I think, Chair, we had a conversation where we were arguing that if there is late exchequer releases, they should not be penalized by KRA. And I don't know, as the COG Chair, you have had conversation with KRA saying that since there are late exchequer releases, then counties should not and must not be punished over KRA tax penalties. I don't know, as governors, as a governor of Wajir, have you, or as a COG, have ever sat and agreed because it is unfair that counties get late exchequer releases, then they are penalized KRA. So I think, Chair, Governor, if that one has not been on COG agenda, you can put it next time over our names. I think that would be better. I'll give back, Chair.
Okay, and Governor, as you respond, I think there's been some conversation that payroll processing, and particularly statutory deductions, be done at the national level. I think there's some conversation about that. And as a Senate, we are concerned that the minute you hand over your payroll to the national government, you have handed over the counties back. But it was for situations like this, where approvals are granted, money is deducted but not credited. You might also want to comment on that, but start with the issues raised by Senator Mwaruma.
Senator Mwaruma, the 732 is the principal sum. It doesn't include interest and penalties. So whether for gratuity or the 7.6 for NSSF, and that one I think is being paid now, and this is all for basic, what we call principal sums. Number one. Number two,
sorry, Governor, is that a fact? Because you've got Appendix 6 here, where the principal is far much lower. So do we take that the 732 is principal without interest?
This figure is general. This is
And
so the 732 is principal
for everyone, both love fund and
without interest.
Without interest.
Okay.
And that's where I'm headed. Because Cherargei asked, what am I trying to prove with that schedule, which has the 47 million and the 410? Senator, it's part of the negotiations we're having, which we can't seem to agree on, because the principal sum, for instance, for lab fund was 47 million, but the interest they were asking for is 410 million. And this matter went to court, and we're in court, and we're saying, for us to be able to prioritize the principal sum, because this was something that was mismanaged, and they also didn't do their part to follow and seek for payments or court process on time, we can't be able to find that money all at one go. That's the point that's trying to make.
Governor, Governor, on that point before you get out of it, because it's a conversation we have had. Lab fund is right to demand an interest, because that interest is a return on investment on the pensioners. So it looks very big, very awkward, but the pensioners also expect a return on investment on their contributions. So you argue against it, then you argue against the benefits of your staff. That's the point I wanted to make.
It's a catch-22, Chair, because this money, the controller also has just said that it is not going to approve. And by the way, there have been instances where someone was very ill or something and we tried to pay, and the controller said, no, this was released before, I'm not releasing this money again. So that's where we are, and this is why we're trying to, probably with Senate's help, because there are counties that can absorb big amounts like this. There are others where it will distort everything. And if everything worked from audit to the system and everything, at that time we would be in this situation. I don't want to go there, but this is the reality. What have you done? We agreed, first of all, that we pay on time. We are among the best payers as of today. As for this other matter, we are still negotiating. As I said, even this fiscal year we have some little money, but we have not reached an agreement on the way forward. We are also engaging on the question of Treasury being able to pay them upfront and try to see if that can be amortized over equitable share for a longer period. So I think I have answered, unless there's a particular question that. So as to the question Senator Sifuna asked, maybe the negotiations were easier. I don't know what their numbers were, and for how long. Because in my case, we've dug a hole for 25 months. Yeah, so probably it was less. It's easier to deal with, and probably also they don't have these other huge pending bills on assets verifiable and in use. But I think the contention of the controller that the controller is not going to release it twice shouldn't really be there, because they are asking us to pay for the physical assets, and even that was also released and misapplied. So
I think when there was a release, there should not be a further approval.
Governor, can you clarify to me if there's ever been an engagement at COG level with LAFAD?
Yes, we continue to engage, and even I think at the beginning of this month, we have another engagement, I think around the 29th with the Lab Fund. We've just had an engagement with CPF where we met in Kwale, discussing this among other things. There are also issues on the side, the Chair, which I shouldn't bring, external issues I shouldn't bring here. Much as the interest asking is high, in this country also there's no law on minimum return to employees. So sometimes also, even in the funds investment, whether the employee gets is very small, much smaller than even the penalty interest. So,
because of unremitted contributions, and only invest what you have.
You cannot fault the employees themselves.
Not the employees, I'm saying the schemes,
the funds.
The funds. In other countries also. So I think, Chair, on this one, I mean, much as I'm in this situation, I am a believer that you cannot deduct somebody's money and not remit it.
Yeah. You know the question that I asked. It's actually criminal, not really.
You're stealing from yourself and stealing from the employees.
The question I asked the governor required some empathy. Because if you don't put yourself in the shoes of those people who are retired, you will not prioritize the payment of this money, of gratuity. Some people retire when they are rich. Some retire when they are extremely poor. And it's retiring, going home, and being told that your money was not remitted, and you know the lady, the man has retired and has some kids in college or even in school who require also assistance. Now, if you say that money was remitted, or not remitted but deducted, and not remitted, so there's nothing you can do, you're not being empathetic enough.
And in fact, Chair, this is why I was pushing the question of time. Governor, we have all been in these offices now for 4 years. Yeah? I am very happy, by the way. I'm proud of this committee. I told you when we started, Chair. We resolved the question of penalties for KRA for you. Because whereas you run around, some of you saying that devolution is working, that the national government has done better than previous administrations, you are up to date with the remittances. It is not true. In private, you come and cry to us that, oh, we are behind 3 months, 2 months remittance. And when we had that, I don't know that you paid May salaries. Have you paid May salaries? He has said himself, we are behind 2 months.
Yes.
May, you have paid May.
Yes.
You have received your disbursements for May.
Not yet, but I'll pay. Regardless of whether receipts are received or not, I have, I pay somewhat. Including the statutory.
So my point was, those people who are watching us at home, who Senator Maruma has described, Governor, in this city, I don't know about Wajir. In this city, if you are unable to pay your rent, they come and lock the door. So you imagine, just 1 month's rent, they remove the mabati from the house and you have to go. Now, you are telling these pensioners that it's an ongoing conversation. 4 years into our term, we're actually going into elections. We've actually started campaigns. I personally have started campaigns. So, what assurance
Elections Act is very clear on campaign period. So, Senator Sifuna, you might be careful. Because you normally argue.
You know where to find me. You know where to find me.
Okay. There's no problem.
I've already announced my next rally. You can send them there.
Okay.
But Governor, the point I was making is this, that empathy that he spoke about requires that we expedite these processes. If these other pensions have been able to find agreements with some of your colleagues in the council, just get one meeting and agree with these people, what is the way forward? Withdraw those matters from, because the people are suffering. And that was the point.
Actually, on that bit of empathy, Governor, when you left office in 2017, were you and the team you exited with paid your gratuities?
100%.
100%.
Yes. In fact, I did it. I went and collected my gratuity.
In 2023, the last election was 2023. 2022, when you returned to office, was the governor and those who were in office in that period, have they been paid their gratuities?
Not yet. And actually,
why?
And tried to pay, and the controller did not approve, because some of them, I don't want to say who, were in pretty bad situation, and out of empathy, I tried to pay, and the controller said, no, you can't. And Senator Marua,
so what would be the challenge? Because you were paying from
somebody's right. Why would you
I decided, then I said, no, we're not.
Chair, I requested the question, Chair, I requested statutory reductions or employees' issues or statutory reductions are somebody's right. It doesn't depend on empathy. So why is the governor saying empathy? And we know very well he didn't leave office. He went for election petition in 2022. So what does he mean? And yet the previous administration paid him on time, but he doesn't want to pay. So the question is, what is the reasoning behind it?
Let me clarify that.
Yes,
Let me clarify. First, it's not the previous administration that paid me on time. No. Please just let me explain.
Please explain.
Because both our pensions and our gratuity were with the fund administrators in my time. I made sure that I remitted the funds to the fund administrators. I did not have to talk to my successor to get my money. I walked over to CPF and I collected my money because my administration had been remitting. Now, here we have a situation where the administration that was in office was not remitting the funds for 25 months, not remit funds for 25 months to the fund administrators.
But deducted.
And Senator Moro, why I was clarifying this, it is not me who was saying it's not payable. It's the controller you had saying, once you have remitted this, you can't do it again. The challenge on my side was to sign off on an agreement. Senator Sifuna, I want to assure you that someone will agree. And before I leave office, I can't clear this amount, but some chunk will be paid to both CPF and LAB fund. But what I'm saying is, because ideally, everybody is with one of the two, either LAB fund or CPF. If administrations were disciplined to remit timelessly, then this situation should not obtain. That's what I'm saying.
Should therefore the reductions be done at the national level? Because you have a crisis here. You have 5 years of discipline, 5 years of alleged indiscipline. How do we ensure that this matter is sorted out? Because, and I think the controller is right, the money was released. It was diverted to some other purposes. You must find a way of funding that expenditure, perhaps even with interest. So going forward, are we seeing a situation where we're saying county governments have become so indisciplined that they must be supervised by the National Treasury on deductions?
Chair,
The response to that, Governor, just clarify whether that 25 months of non-remittance is for all the employees, including for the governor himself.
Chair, as I said, the Wajir case is probably, with respect to the pending bill situation, was the worst of all worlds. There are also other counties, governors who, when they came into office, inherited as little as 15 million shillings or 50 million shillings of pending bills. So whether we should change the law just because of a few bad situations, I think that's a matter for all of us, not only for me, because the architecture does not allow currently the setup of the PFM architecture a mechanism for national government to deduct money at source without first hitting the CRF.
Well, they did it with MES, you remember?
Right. At MES, it was a book entry in a sense. You know, they were like, say they allocated us X as conditional grant, but it wasn't really part of the equitable share in a sense. So it was like a donation, we made a donation to you, and we were keeping it up in the air, so that was what it was, how I understood it. But there is no mechanism really for that to happen, for Treasury to decide we're not remitting a part of your equitable share. One thing that has now happened in the last, I think, 1 month, from April, which is a plus and a minus at the same time, is that the payroll is now being handled through IFMIS, right? The HRS, the Integrated Human Resource System, is now been integrated with, the module has been integrated with IFMIS. So salaries have to be paid through IFMIS just like everything else, individually to the employee. The downside of that is when, as Senator Sifuna says, there are delays in disbursements and releases, then the utilization of the soft banking arrangements that some counties use to pay salary becomes difficult, because the banks can't be the ones paying the employees' money through IFMIS. IFMIS only accepts, it's only integrated to the county operational and development account. So it becomes more difficult actually to get banking help, right? So as to the question of how this is handled, I think, Chair, it's a question of the control environment. It's a question of also timely audits and timely oversight and timely action, I think. Because if we were to go the route of deducting that at the source, remember, even the pending bills that I'm being crucified about here have to do with money that has actually left the CRF account, has been released by the controller, but was misapplied, or there was an over-budgeting of expenditure above the budget. Because if there is no mechanism for county governments to be in deficit, county governments must stick to their budget. And if they are overshot because of a disaster or something, then that should be something that can be managed within the next budget or something like that. Maybe a disaster happens or something. But it shouldn't be something that cannot be absorbed by the next regime. Because when you have 7 billion or 5 billion of pending bills, and all the money was released and utilized, I think, Senator Moro, you also have to be a bit empathetic with me.
Well, and all these are offences committed by the team that you lead. Honourable members, how do we get away out of this? Because all these are instances of poor financial management in counties. There's a specific case of Wajir, but it cuts across. Now, there has to be a solution. So, Wajir, the first 5 years they're doing the right thing. The second 5 years they're doing the wrong thing. The next 5 years they're doing the right thing. The next 5 years, you don't know what's going to happen. You've got employees. They are looking at the Senate and all these institutions to come up with a solution. I am not hearing a solution. I am hearing a detailed description of the problem.
I think for which there should be certain consequences. I think where we are failing as a nation is the consequence part. How is it conscionable for you to preside over an administration that deducts money from employees? Don't remit, then you tell us you also don't have a solution. Even criminal sanctions should follow such people. I mean, it's unconscionable. They come to our offices here, Chair, KICC, and they are in bad shape. They come to cry in our offices, and we can't just say there's nothing to do. I think there should be criminal consequences for CEOs who do that we deduct money and we don't remit. Then the COB says they can't release twice. I mean, those are the conversations we should be having, Governor, at COG level, at Senate level, and we're willing and ready to help. For as long as those here as enemies, we can sit and talk about these things. But for me, I think there should be some level of responsibility, criminal responsibility for people who are doing these things.
Senator Cherargei?
Maybe, Chair, I agree with the Nairobi Senator that if this money was released and the governor has described this in detail what happened and also the reluctance of COB, which we agree with, not to release money that had already been, should have been remedied. This was a pure theft. And I think, in my own opinion, certain consequences, including investigations and prosecution, and I'm happy, I don't know whether ESCC are here with us, I think anybody found culpable then and now, because the Constitution under Article 2265 is very clear that you should be held accountable while or even after you leave office. So there is no expiry or reflection of criminal liability. If somebody took the people's money, the staff of Wajir, and Governor, we cannot be sympathetic with you because you have already received your gratuity in them. So sympathy will not be there today. So what I'm just saying in simple, Governor, and we agree with you largely, is let anybody, including your staff who are here, who might have participated in this well-orchestrated criminal enterprise of stealing from the employees, they must be investigated and prosecuted. I think EACC is normally with that. They just pick it up so that as we pursue for a resolution on this matter, somebody in this country, Chair, we should punish the issue of corruption to be as rare as a snowball in hell, so that somebody cannot walk into a public office, steal, get away with it, go to Santorini and enjoy their lives as if nothing is happening, Mr. Speaker. I know Senator Sifuna does not know where Santorini is, but I will share with him. It's one of the exotic places.
Okay, members, looking at the time, we just have 20 minutes, so let's be conscious.
So, Chair, on the same note, Governor, the truth of the matter is the people of Wajir, especially those who are ready to retire, they are out of the payroll, definitely are expecting that because you are appearing today, there will be a solution or way forward to their issues. It's easy to say it wasn't me. It's an easy thing to say, but for that mama, for that old man who worked tirelessly to make Wajir County what it is today, and they are at home now with nothing, and the only thing we can do here is to say their former governor did not remit their deductions for 25 months. They already know that. What hope, what exactly is it that your government is doing to ensure that those people, in a way, to reduce their suffering? First of all, you agree with me, it's criminal. It's really a very bad thing for a government to deduct money from employees and not remit. It's a criminal act. So what exactly are you doing before the EACC comes for you or for whoever they have to come for? What exactly are you doing about those people?
Chair, I'm not an accountant, but is it not possible to know if some money came like 200 million and received from Treasury for paying salaries, plus gratuity and everything? If the salaries were paid at net and the remittances were not made, is it not possible to know where that money went to and who is appropriated? I think it's possible to know. Because then if you have received money this month and you paid the employees and the money that is deducted, say 20 million, was not remitted, we should know where that money went to. And the person who is appropriated that money. And number two, Chair, we should be able as an oversight body to direct the county to pay this money. First of all, any payable should serve as a first charge, as a priority charge on any receipt. Why can't we direct that this also happens for this money?
Yeah, Governor, I think you have seen the mood of the Senate, that these are issues that we want to engage on positively because they impact on the lives of the very people we rely on for service delivery. Having described the problem, what do you put as the action you're going to take individually as the governor of Wajir and broadly as the leader of the team of governance?
Chair, that it's a criminal offense. Everything we have discussed here with respect to pending bills is a criminal offense. Because not only for the statutory, I keep repeating, even for those classrooms that people are threatening to close, the money was released, not applied appropriately. And it's easy to blame the governors, but even the governor himself, his gratuity was not paid. So this is, of course, the tone at the top and everything is important, but I think there were officers who are in these roles, in HR, in finance, in procurement, who ought to have known better. And all these reports are everywhere. They are with Senate, they are with ESCC, they are all over. I mean, there's another commendation about it. That's 1. 2. So it's budget indiscipline, Senator Ombo. It's budget discipline. You know, people just issuing the resources left, right, and center. They committed more than they budgeted for. Some were done, some weren't done, right? There even some that were paid, which weren't done. All this is in all these reports, you know. And as I said, I've given copies of all these reports to Senate, to everybody. What am I going to do? Yes, probably I accept would have, you know, agreed to something much earlier, but they gave us hope, the schemes, that they were willing to, because we are now compliant and we are among the better payers, timely payers, they were going to look at, you know, interest and penalty waiver. So we'll first start that process and start paying. We'll put something substantial for the coming year's budget, but also have an agreement that's legal that binds the next regime to also pay, number 1. Number 2, we're also making the effort that I've said, because it's not only us, many counties, and the damage is already done, and there's no mechanism for bailout for counties when things are messed up, to see whether Treasury can get into some Treasury bonds or something. I know this has happened before with respect to the sugar industry and people like that for, you know, government guaranteed debts, and then take a guarantee against the equitable share or something. So those are conversations I'm willing to have. But with respect to Wajir, all I can do is speed up agreement, see whether, because it's also, when this mess happened on the watch of everybody, Chair, it's not also fair to punish the current regime to pay 410 million in interest against a 47 million principal, you know, I mean, and we also have to provide services, you know, in all areas and meet current commitments. So it's a challenge, but I'll get an agreement, pay something substantial, and then commit the next regime. That's what I promised the Senate. Thank you.
Okay, Auditor General, please check in the 25-26 audit whether this problem is recurring. Because the governor said that the problem, he has fixed it, save for historical matters. So you give us an assurance that statutory deductions, be they pensions, KRA, SHA, NSSF, SACCOs, insurance premiums, etc. I think if this is a matter that recurs, then we should define it as a persistent material breach of the PFM. And we must call the National Treasury and ask the National Treasury why they should not invoke Article 225 on stoppage of funds. Not just for Wajir, but for all counties. This is the true definition of persistent material breach of the law. Colleagues have talked about criminal sanctions, but restitution must also follow, because it's not enough to jail someone who stole your money and then remain there looking poor. So I think we'll make those recommendations, but the critical thing is to ensure that this is not recurring. We have quite a number of matters to discuss, but time is limited. We have already gone through this report earlier. There are a few issues where we can take the written responses, but there are a few paint as a disturbing picture of the entity. For example, the Auditor General has queried excessive drivers in Wajir. And the Auditor General says you have 149 vehicles and 216 drivers. So I don't know whether they are drivers or turn boys. But when you look at that from a perspective of prudence, so actually there are two paragraphs. There's a paragraph on unserviceable motor vehicles and equipment, says that 90 vehicles are grounded and unserviceable Then when you go further in the report, issue number 19 on page 11 of the certificate, you've got a finding on excessive drivers. So these are the little leakages that will sink the ship. Governor, what's your comment? Just broadly speaking, without necessarily reading the response. 216 drivers for 149 vehicles, out of which 90 are grounded.
Chair, I think we cleared that with the auditor and we proved to them that the drivers might have could have been slightly fewer were necessary because we run ambulances. Just now we're getting 10 new ambulances. We got 10 new vehicles also, but we run ambulances, and because of our terrain and the referral system, because we're talking about a distance of 57,000 square kilometers, in which the sub-county hospitals sometimes can be, we have dispensaries, we have, and health centers, but to find a place where there's a doctor who can do surgery, they're quite apart. So these doctors work on shift, these drivers work on shift, and sometimes it's necessary to have more than one driver for ambulances, for water bowsers, because during the drought we run a 24-hour emergency. So we actually run 3 shifts to deliver water to the farthest point where the lives could have moved to. So considering everything, we are not that off given the numbers that we need because of the ambulatory service system and the water bowsers and the emergency nature of our county operations.
You don't see a redundancy. You find it justifiable because you have cited the health sector and maybe the water sector, but does that account for the full picture?
And also for the new fleet, because we are replacing our old fleet. We bought new vehicles. We're getting 10 new ambulances, and we already have, I think, 11 new vehicles. So taken together, Chair, because in certain instances you actually need 2 or 3 drivers for a vehicle, like the water bowsers. I think we're not that off, but we have frozen the employment of new drivers. In fact, there were more. So what we did at the beginning of this term, we pushed some of them to enforcement. We pushed some of the ones that could fit into transfer them where they could be used. But it's not as bad as it looks given our emergency nature of operations.
So, Auditor General, you'll help us analyze the employee costs. You have reported it was at 37%, which is just about 2% above the threshold. But beyond the percentage, is it growing in absolute terms? Because the year here was 4.1 billion. Did it grow from prior year?
I think it reduced. Previously it was 43.
It was 4.3.
43%.
It was at 43%.
Yes.
Sometimes that percentage is high because of a delay in disbursements. So what's the actual sum?
For the year in question, it reduced to that 7.
No. I'm saying percentages.
Yes.
Sometimes the base is not complete. You might find that there was a delayed remittance which was not reported in that year, and so the percentage looks different. They spent 4.1 billion in 2024-2025. Are you able to check how much they spent in prior year in actual shillings, not percentage?
And maybe given time, I will check that.
Okay, you can interrogate that so that even when you are congratulating the governor for being at 37%, the percentage should not mask the actual growth in expenditure. Senator Morum?
I quite agree with you, because if we are to reduce by not like 5%, that is quite high. When maybe the contract of some particular kind of individual or employees, the contract has not ended suddenly. It's really to strike your mind why that percentage has reduced drastically by 5%. Sometimes it reduces because of increase in revenue. That is the shareable revenue. But that's what has happened here. We need just really to know.
Okay.
And then also have you audited the other cadres of employees, or is it just drivers who are redundant? Because this is just redundancy. Wajir could be very rich. That in the year ending June 2025, you had already employed drivers for a fleet of vehicles that even up to now, 2026 June, has not arrived. Try to take redundancies also around other sectors.
Governor, maybe just as a question, maybe I don't know whether you have the information, and it's a very quick one. At the time you are leaving office in 2017, what was the figure? What was the wage bill? At the time, maybe just in the global amount.
The wage bill was around 210 million, I think, at that time.
A month?
A month, yeah.
So that was 2 billion.
Yeah.
2.4, 2.5 billion.
Yeah.
And now it is 4 billion.
Yes.
What do you, and what percentage was it of your total revenues back then?
I think at that time we were doing well. We were almost doing 50-50 between development and recurrent. Yeah.
So it was much less than 30%?
Probably wage bill was much less than even 30% because the whole recurrent was about 50% use of goods and everything.
So this growth, is it normal? If you look at it, assuming you're just looking at it from an accountant's perspective, shouldn't it be something to worry about?
Yes, I think it was both organic but also a lot of what do you call top-heavy employment was done. Because the number of directors that I came back to was much higher than what I left, and but also organic in the sense that since then and now the number of facilities and things like that have also changed. One of the contributors to this was the water company, which I know is being done under the investments committee. We actually tried to via people from the water, reduce the numbers from as much as 500 something to 200 and how many? To 258 thereabout, and went through some strenuous court process and had to pay some of them some out of court settlement just to whatever. So, Chair, also when people get into the payroll, it's not that easy to remove, because also our labor courts are pretty much on the employee side. So for now, the new recruitments are largely on need basis and in the area of health and ECD.
Okay, you have already reached the 35. 5 years ago, you were below 30. Yeah. It means that there is a problem, whether it's organic or whether it's all those factors you have cited. Auditor General, you need a payroll audit for all the counties. I expect that in this financial year, where you are going to start your audit, that issue of HR needs to come up. On HR, we keep talking of ethnicity, persons with disability, one-third salary rule, which is neither here nor there. But a growth from 2 billion to 4 billion in a span of 5 years, offering the same services, is questionable. So please query that. I think we can deal with
actually, I think let him do also a trend analysis, because we actually reduced, much as we were recruiting some people for health, we also got rid of 106 people, health workers, who were on the payroll but not around. We chased away people with fake degrees and fake documents. So we reduced and used that space to try and recruit. Last year alone, I think we recruited 212 new nurses because of the new facilities. Now we moved to level 5. That new level 5 alone requires at least another 100 nurses for the new services. So it's both ways. But I want to assure you that on my watch, we will not recruit anyone we don't need. We will try to up to the 35%. We will not commit any procurement for which we have no money. And anything that we are unable to pay by the time we're leaving office, which was committed on our watch, we will tie the funds in the bank balance to the actual ongoing projects. As for the pending bills, we'll continue to chip in to the best of our ability through payment, and we'll find a solution for the statutory payables by paying what we can and committing the next government to an arrangement. I commit to that. So, Senator Cherargei,
I think that's fair. Looking at the time, Senator, because of the time, let's, okay.
Maybe on the resource revenue, Governor, how much are you collecting? What is your revenue potential?
Last year, we collected 355. Up from 36 when we came in. The last year we came in, it was 36. How much? 329 is what we collected last year.
What is your revenue potential?
The CRA puts out that's about, I don't know how much? 600, maybe even slightly more. But
maybe, Chair, our fiscal analyst is here today. How much is the revenue potential? Just because it's tied up with the.
I can't remember the exact figure, but yeah.
Okay, you guys can check, but we've got the breakdown of the revenue performance. Out of 355 million, 258 came from hospitals. So largely it's driven by the hospital or the health sector. In the remaining 2 minutes, quick question. Your KIPES is worth 600 million,
yes,
whereas all the KIPES are worth 500 million. What's the background to that?
No, it's not all the KIPES that are worth 500 million. 500 million was the figure that was agreed that national government pays 250 and county pays 250. There are counties that actually have been able to commit to slightly lower than that, especially the ones around Nairobi. Ours, it was an open bid, and it's what people quoted. And because the cement comes from here, the stones come from Thika, so contractors it will cost us slightly more to construct than. I remember one of my colleagues, when he did the bids, his was, because he's a bit further from me, his was bidded at 800 something, and he said he can't afford it, he didn't do it. In my case, I felt that it was cheaper to do today because of construction inflation than to do it tomorrow. So that was the lowest bid at 603.
What's your percentage completion?
100% complete. We are working with trade. We've been promised some money for what we call common user facility, but the cold rooms are working and everything is working. We're going out to tender to see what investors to come and use. It's 100% complete.
Okay, finally, what is the state of exchequer releases? I know that there was a query on exchequer release. It's really a national treasury problem,
yes,
but you could paint the picture for us in terms of Wajir and maybe even for the rest of the counties, because we have 2 weeks to close of financial year.
Yeah.
We saw here another county that received 4.5 billion shillings on the 1st of July, and they had to spend it within a day. Now you imagine how complicated that would be to spend 4.5 billion within the 14-day window. So what's the status in Wajir and globally?
In Wajir and globally, Chair, released and by Treasury is up to April. So on 15th of June, I sent out a letter to CS Mbadi on the status of disbursement of county equitable share, and what's outstanding to be received is 35.2 billion for May and 33.2 billion for June, 68.475. And the purpose of the letter was to request his office to urgently disburse 68.475 all to counties for the months of May and June, and also hope that the system doesn't shut immediately on 30th of June to allow what is on the platforms to be paid. And it's usually a ritual we usually have at the cut-off month to allow to be paid. But yes, everyone has received up to April, May and June, not yet. I am hoping that will be released this week. Yeah.
Senator Sifuna?
Chair, because he has answered that question as chair of the COG, I also have one as COG chair. Governor, you heard those trumpets outside. Have you heard the trumpets outside, Governor? You know, there's just now, when we were in this meeting.
The trumpets, the noises.
You know,
I didn't know the trumpets.
Yes, there's a surah in the Quran that talks about trumpets. And I think it says they'll be blown twice. The first one is for all of us to fall dead except the ones who Allah wills to remain. And the second one is for the resurrection.
Senator, you can take the shot another thing.
Oh, just a minute. There's somewhere I'm going. Those trumpets, for us, we hear them every day. And they are from the Universal Health Coverage team. I would be remiss if I did not use this opportunity for you as a Council of Governor Chair to clear this controversy for us, because we feel bad that these workers are in the streets every day blowing those trumpets that you heard. We have passed Dora, we have passed Kana, we have passed, I think, we have done the county government additional allocation. Governor, we have provided for money through the additional allocation for the absorption of these workers on permanent and pension. But they are here because they can hear some of your members saying that because this money is being channeled through the Additional Allocation Act, that they cannot absorb them on permanent and pension. I want you to tell us why this is not possible. Because the money is there, it is assured, and it will be passed by the successive senates every single year. Why can't you absorb these young people on permanent and pensionable, so that we all wait for only those two trumpets that we have referenced, Governor? Okay.
Can I add just one quick small? I read on Senator Sifuna's issue of UHC. It has been a problem. I think maybe a number of you are lucky. I have received 1,000+ messages on WhatsApp and SMSs. We have seen the president speaking to it in Kajiado. Governor, what was the agreement between the CS of Health and you as a COG? Because it looks like at the ping pong game, we saw your chair of finance and budget going on record that out of 8.9 billion, they are not absorbed to PNP. And these are UHC staff that served us in 2020 when even soldiers in barracks could not come out to fight COVID. Don't you think it is unfair for 6 years they have been on contract? And I think, Chair, just in conclusion, these are people who are experienced. You don't need to keep them on probation. They can run our health facilities. And we should avoid, our worries through the chair is, we should not allow these people to be left hanging, because health is a default function as per the fourth schedule. So as a chair COG, and what is the position so that we can finish this thing once and for all for the betterment? I yield back.
Just to add one thing, and I don't know if that is happening in Wajir. In my county, these people worked for 5 years. Now their contracts are over. Now when my county government is employing, they don't absorb those. When there's new employment, those are left out. Is that the same situation in Wajir? And so when will they be absorbed?
Governor? And as you respond, the quorum bell is ringing in the House, so make it a brief one.
Chair, as we sit here this morning, I wrote a letter to the CS for National Treasury, which probably should, for the CS for Health, which should hopefully reach for the close of business today, about UHC. Because the agreement that we had was to keep these people in perpetuity. That allocation moves to bump up, increase the equitable share, so that it's there in the base of equitable share in perpetuity. And we're doing this. And actually that position also, we agreed at summit and agreed. So there's actually a summit decision to that effect. We even have letters from the minister to that effect that please, going forward, we will increase, we will jointly fight for this money and increase as equitable share. The challenge governors have is that if we just go the conditional grant way, in the past there has been indiscipline by National Treasury in releasing conditional grants as approved. What is appropriated is not what aids have been disbursed, and there has been no mechanism to ensure that there is a follow-through. You know, for equitable share, even where the year closed with some balances, it's been paid in July before we got into the releases for the next fiscal. And for last year, I think everything was released by that June. So, Senator, what I'm saying is, counties don't want to get tied up to an arrangement which they're not sure the money will come year on year. And this has been the argument. And so we're seeing the credible premise that was made that equitable share will include a specific amount to entrench the pay for UHC has not been done. And the risk also is one of gratuity, because we want to cut off from the old arrangement, and then now these people are absorbed on a permanent basis, and that the ministry deals with the issues that might arise as a result of gratuity. The ministry still wants to do what it is doing, which is provide money for the next 1 year. And there's no assurance that that money will be there in perpetuity. So we have no problem employing these people on a permanent basis. We are on their side. All we're saying is the credible promises which has been made. And why do we say this? Because in the past, there were also agreements that we entered in with the Ministry of Health on CPS, which managed income.
Yeah, but the governor, just before I leave chair, money is money. Yeah? Money is money. The Senate has fought for an additional 13 billion, is it? Yeah. For this financial year. Why don't you use that one? And the Senate will still be there. In fact, if we had gotten the 454 that we were promised, 450 we were promised, it would have been different. But unfortunately, Governor, money is money. If we have given you an extra 13 billion,
you should just say government. It's a broad-based government, isn't it so, Governor?
Yeah, because
Governor is a broad-based government.
No, and that is not.
Let's stop defining government. Let's go back to the concept.
Chair, my support for broad-based government does not preclude my ability to disagree with them on certain things. So on this one, we've been given the money for 1 year, we'll keep them for 1 year. You want us to keep them in perpetuity?
No, I think, honorable members, because of time, what the governor is struggling to explain simply brings us to the conclusion that we are treating our workers very badly. We have seen it with pensions, we have seen it with gratuities, we have seen it also with this particular matter on UHC staff. And that's a very unfortunate conclusion to this session.
We have 13 billion from 450 to 428 billion. Why don't they use this 13 billion? Nandi is getting almost 300 million additional from last year. Why don't they do PNP?
Because this obsession of ring-fencing and yet you can allocate budgets is a problem.
But
Senator, who I know you have a statement, so make it
yes, I don't want to miss some statement on the floor. But you see, Chair, that conversation, Governor, needs to happen. And this is not idle talk. The counties, the 47 counties, have an additional 13 billion Kenya shillings. You need 8 billion for onboarding UHE staff on permanent and pensionable. No, Chair, there's this challenge that we are having with our counties where other things are important, but employees, we are still fighting. Fighting for what? There is already money. Use that money now on board the UHC. And you are saying about some counties that have received an additional, I don't know what. Cherargei, your county has received an additional amount of money. They all received an additional 371 million Kenya shillings as affirmative action money. The same money was received by that is excluding the additional equitable share for this financial year. Surely, if people are serious about their employees, there is an opportunity to onboard those people and deal with the tea and mandatis later. That can happen later after you onboarded your employees?
And Chair, as I had said, these people are needed. The nurses are needed. That's why we indicated that we want to employ 200 nurses this financial year. Title Capital has been employing but ignoring the UHC staff. It is bad. Why don't you within the Council of Governors pass a policy that they should absorb the UHC staff first before any other employment?
In fact, members, our failure as a Senate is that we are not very robust when it comes to budget implementation review. The control of budget generates those reports. We must be in that space, not necessarily do the budgets the way the county assemblies do, but implementation review.
Other has come to me. Let me just dispense with that and then I leave. Why can't the COG, if you are serious, because I'm not very sure you are, if the COG is serious, why can they cause a tripartite between themselves, the Senate, and perhaps the controller of budget or the treasury, and we deal with this matter of UHC once and for all? If they are serious about it, well, why can we have that conversation and deal with it?
Okay, members, we are going to...
Just 1 minute, Chair. From your argument, Governor, you look like you are helpless because you can precipitate this crisis to ensure that these issues have been resolved. Because I thought by the time they submit that you engage and resolve this matter, these 7,400 UHC should have been observed.
So, like in research, they usually say areas for further research. These are areas for further engagement. We will offend the rules of the House if we go beyond the time. And so we will pause at this point. The issues that have not been addressed, we will consider whether the written responses are adequate or if there is need for another meeting. We'll allow the governor to make his closing remarks and then the senators, if any, if there's need for closing remarks. Governor.
Thank you very much, Chair. I am ready for that tripartite discussion. Can be done through the Health Committee of Senate, because as I said, there was a credible promise that this will be factored in the equitable share for perpetuity. And as to the increase, every county is in its own situation. But it's a conversation we're willing to have. If the intention was to have this money in perpetuity, it shouldn't really be an issue to increase equitable share for this year and to ensure that it's a base for next year. But let's have that conversation. We have no problem with our staff and we're the best for them. Chair, having said that, I think it was a fairly, it's a very good meeting. And on the issues